All right, we are live. Welcome, family, to another show. I'm going to get right into it today. I'm doing a no cam show because I want guys to that might not be will be a little less inclined to want to come on video. I want some guys' opinions on the whole passport bro. We'll just call it a movement for the purpose of this show. What's going on with the passport bros and some of the misconceptions about the passport bros. And I know a lot of guys, might not be comfortable with being on cam. So I wanted some opinions today. So I'm gonna drop a link real soon after I do my little intro dialogue. Once again, I hope all is well today. You can come on. You don't have to cam up. Guys can kind of express their opinions or their thoughts and concerns with everything that's going on in the media in concerns of, let's just say the Passport Bros movement. Even though it's more so an ideology, I wanted to get some guys' opinions. I want to give a shout out to my dude Jay Clyde's in the building. Jay Clyde, you're welcome to come up as well. I just want some opinions, man. Want to chop it up with the fam. I haven't did a no cam show in quite some time, so we're gonna be here chopping up for a good little minute. Later on today, in about I would say about 7 and some hours, I'm actually going to be interviewing the brothers that were shot at in Medellin as well. So it's going to be somewhat of a two-header today, uh, for the fam, man. So once again, welcome to the show. Hope you guys get some valuable information of it. Like I said before, it's been a lot of press going on in concerns of men traveling overseas, where they're traveling overseas for economic opportunities, to maximize their American dollar, or where they're traveling for relationships. We're going to talk about it today. So welcome, fellas. Welcome, welcome, welcome. But I will say before we get into the gist of the show that one thing I do recognize with a lot of the I would say the negative spin on it and where it's coming from, it is a lot of jealousy. It is a lot of jealousy. I tap into some of the live stream just to take a listen about what some of these guys are saying. And most of these guys, and I'm specifically focused on the guys, not the backlash from some of the women in the States or in the West rather. Uh I will say is a lot of jealousy coming from that community. A lot of guys will utilize the passport bros with a hashtag within the title for clicks and views. And then they'll turn around and they'll bash it and they'll say, well, they're doing all this or they're doing this one thing. And they'll try to blanket the whole ideology of guys traveling overseas with something negative. And I am seeing a lot of that, you know. Guys with channels less than 50 subscribers, 100 subscribers, they think that, hey, if I you know utilize this hashtag, whether positive or negative, I can get some traction. All right. House of Lamar, nobody's really backing down. I don't know if you watched the stream last time. I did, but nobody's really backing down. But if you're welcome to come on and express your opinion. Like I said, this is a no cam show. So, you want to come on, you're welcome to come on. Somebody asked about a Discord. We don't have a Discord. Somebody created Discord with the Black Man's Travels, logo and moniker. But I have nothing to do with a Discord. All right. Anybody can create a Discord. Anybody can name a Discord, whatever they want. I believe it's an open platform. I'm not really familiar with Discord. Uh, but there is no Black Man Travels Discord. I want to go ahead and put that out there for the family. We got Iman Perry in the room. What up? What's good with you? We got the Dazzling Globetrotter. Salute, salute. Like I said, I'm gonna drop a link real soon, man. We're just gonna chop it up, man. We're gonna chop it up for a good little minute today. I want your guys' opinions. Like I said, this is a no cam show. So if you're not comfortable with coming on, usually I'm cammed up and ready to roll with everybody. Uh, but like I said before, some guys don't like to cam up. They just want to, make a comment or something like that. But on this show, you can just come on and it's going to be a lot of people, 8, 9 people. I'm going to try to exchange people out. People can say what they got to say and, whether positive or negative, go ahead and pull on up. Chris Blue, shout out to Chris Blue in the building. He says, "What up, bros? No surrender, no retreat." That's what's up, man. That's definitely what's up. We got Good Time Grego in the building. What up, Good Time Grego? Oh man, yeah. I peeped that Instagram post with the Patriots and the Falcons, man. I'm gonna get at you for that. But that'll be another time. But shout out to my dude Grego in the building. If you want to pull up, man, I'm gonna drop a link as well. You guys can go ahead and pull up. All right. You guys can make sure you go ahead and pull up. But yeah, it's been a lot of press, some negative, some positive. I'm seeing guys make videos saying that the governments, foreign governments, are want to get involved and this, that, and all these little fear tactics to get clicks and views. Basically, what you guys got to understand that with this whole internet thing, this whole social media space, and guys are pretty much going back and forth trying to monetize their channels and get views and get clicks and get AdSense and all that. Anybody that knows about the media is that in order for people to click on it or get some attention, you got to make a somewhat controversial title, and I want you guys to really process that. All right. Even when you see stories and articles from blogs that people are not very familiar with, anybody can write a blog and make it look very professional. And the wording in some of those titles can be very misleading, right? When you see your article and the article might say a word like investigates, right? Or they'll say something like denounce. Well, you can denounce anything, but it's a very powerful term, right? Denounce. Like, we denounce this, we denounce that, we denounce the passport bros. But what is really a denounce, right? You can denounce fried chicken. You can denounce, watching sports on TV. You can denounce this, denounce that. But that doesn't really mean anything. But it's a powerful word. But somebody saying they denounce something isn't really the terminology of doing anything legal behind it. All right. When somebody says investigate, I'm specifically talking about certain articles that's been written about the passport bros. When they say something like investigates, well, if somebody robs a bank, one person goes into a bank and robs it, and there's 10 people in there, everybody in that bank will be somewhat investigated, right? So an investigate just means they're looking into something. But generally speaking, from what I can tell, they're not really finding anything too negative. There's nothing out here that's really demonizing this ideology per se. There's no hardcore evidence of some of the accusations that people are putting out about guys that believe in the passport bro ideology. Because at the end of the day, that's what it is. And when I get calls or text messages or anything like that in concerns of, hey man, you gotta do this, you gotta do that, it's impossible to control a hashtag or ideology somewhat. And the ideology of the passport bros, from my standpoint, and this is one of the guys that have a lot to do with the growing the niche and growing the space and growing the terminology of the passport bros and guys traveling overseas. And there's a lot of different groups, shout out to all the different groups that uh discuss on how men can travel the world and dating and relations as far as financing and finding remote jobs. We discuss all of that. But it's at this point, it's so many people that are hashtagging the passport bros. So many guys that really had nothing to even do with the space, as I'm sure Jay Clyde and Grego, who's been around for a long time, know that you got guys really adopting uh, that terminology or that word per se, right? You got content creators who are not very versed in traveling, who probably haven't even been nowhere. Some of them uh, might not even have passports or been to maybe one or two countries. They're claiming passport bros as well. It's such a popular term. It's such a popular hashtag right now that you got people who don't have the same ideology that most of us have in concerns of leverage your American dollar, taking advantage of opportunities overseas, even dating women that have more traditional values in order to build your legacy, in order to be able to raise your family, in order to not have to be married to the state, where they give somewhat of a motivation to separate the family, right? Um, you got guys who pretty much are bringing it into like the gender war, or even so, guys that just go overseas to party or weekend warriors. Everybody using the terminology right now, and I think that's a good thing, but it could also be a bad thing. All right. Somebody says, Jay Clyde says, fat shout out to my dude Jay Clyde. All right. As far as the woman Stephanie Ribeiro down in Brazil, it seems like she wants to try to keep the story alive. She did put out a little story. She mentioned a Discord that had nothing to do with, nobody that I know personally has anything to do with a Discord. Somebody created a Discord that I knew nothing about, basically. And somebody with an emoji had posted some stuff in there, and it was just a whole bunch of trash, man. And that Discord is no longer around because I said, hey man, if you're gonna have a Discord, you can't utilize my name or the name that I utilize. And they took it down immediately, right? So it seems like she's kind of reaching, she's trying to play the political game by making it a us versus them, but in my opinion, man, is already has lost a lot of steam, because once again, man, you can't just have baseless accusations out there. And if you notice, if you look at some of the comment section in her Twitter and her Instagram, she's going back and forth with a lot of people that disagree with her on this topic. Because yeah, I lived in Brazil for close to a year. Brazil is a beautiful country, it's a lovely country, I love it, I'll be back. But it does have a lot of social issues that need to be addressed in Brazil, and concerns of economic deprivation and racism. It has a lot of issues. And for someone to call himself an activist, a feminist, I would think there'll be more concerns with bigger issues that affect the people in Brazil way more than one or two people that basically she doesn't agree with in a nutshell. And she's trying to make a story out of nothing to be able to gain some traction and stay relevant. So that's all I'm gonna speak on the Stephanie Ribeiro situation, because there's no need to go back and forth. People have reached out to her. She doesn't want to really have any type of dialogue whatsoever. She just wants to hurl baseless accusations, basically. Baseless accusations. That's why she has to reach and say, hey, I found this out, this, that, and the other, with things that generally speaking, nobody has anything to do with. And another thing that I really don't appreciate, or don't like, rather, is the fact that it's a lot of content creators of a different hue that go down to Brazil and have way more uh sexualized content that could be actually considered more so in that space of sexual tourism. That word she loves to just hurl out there so easily in order to incentivize people. And what she does is she'll post a tweet, she'll delete a tweet, she'll say something that could be considered to be either hate speech, or it could possibly enrage some form of violence against foreigners out there, and then she'll take it down. So she's just playing like this little political game, her and her husband. And I'm not gonna sit there and say that I never want to be like, oh, I'm Brazilian, and I know what they feel is offensive and not offensive. But I will say, when somebody tries to have a dialogue with you and try to set the record straight, and you ignore that, that tells me that it's something else more so. That tells me that it's something else. And especially the fact that you claim to want to change the system and go against that system of racial, and economic deprivation in Brazil, but yet you try to leverage that same system against somebody that could be your brother, or your nephew, or somebody that looks like you. So I'm very weary of that. And that's why I refuse to even engage or go back and forth, because anybody can hurl baseless accusations. Where's the proof at? Where's the proof? There is none. All right. Literally, there is none. So she has to reach and try to find it and keep the story alive. And, I'm not going to say she got somewhat exposed on a certain YouTuber's show when they sat there and asked her factual statements of uh, the temperature and as a matter of fact. All right. So that's very revealing. That says a lot. All right. So guys, I'm gonna go ahead and drop a link, man. Pull up. Like I say, it's no cam show. I just want some opinions. Whether you agree, whether you disagree. Let's talk about it, man. I'm gonna go ahead and drop a link. All right. Let me catch some of these comments as I do this. Give me a second. All right, I just dropped the link. All right. Prophet, if you want to come on, man, you're welcome to come on. Like I say, let's chop it up. Let's talk about it. Somebody says she wants attention. Yeah, that's another thing about defamational lawsuits. All right. Defamational lawsuits, most of the time, 9 times out of 10, if it's a certain individual, right, that doesn't, you can kind of tell, doesn't have wealth or doesn't have the resources that some people might think they have, you filed a lawsuit 8-10 grand, and it's just more so you're not going to get anything more than likely unless you're going against some type of organization or something like that, right? Or somebody that has the means to actually have to pay, right? And then you got to look at it from a standpoint of, are the courts really going to side with you being a foreigner? You don't even live there. You're not even a Brazilian. So who are the courts really going to appeal to more so? All right. So defamation of lawsuit, it's possible, man, but you got to see if it's really worth it. You got to see what a person's net worth is to actually affect them. But defamation of lawsuits to other content creators will definitely be going out. All right, because people can't just hurl horrible, baseless accusations in order for them to get clicks and views and try to get people, one against the other. All right. Some say going overseas, I'm start a new life. Thailand seems to be the best option. Shout out to D dot. If I go overseas, I'm going to start a new life. Thailand seems to be a best option to start a new life. Just my opinion. Yeah, it is. If you can deal with the distance, yeah, it's a good country. A lot of people like living in Thailand, man. Thailand definitely has a very large expat community all over the country. You got Bangkok, you got different little areas where you'll definitely be comfortable living at, especially without having to worry about such a language barrier that you have to deal with in South America per se. All right, somebody says, shout out to Dust Buster says, that's why Brazil/Colombia isn't for me. Those social issues you speak of, visit, sure to live. No. Yeah, I mean, a lot of countries have some form of a social issue, though. There is like no perfect country per se. Let's see here. Shout out to Rouge Moon Child. All right. Darren Bowman says she should be more concerned about racism in Brazil. Black people at the bottom of the barrel there. Why she joined BLM in Brazil. All right. Somebody says Sue in Brazil. Yeah, that's a sketchy one. Somebody says, Alex W., this whole passport thing is really easy to understand, but the solution is to make your moves in silence. You know what's funny when people say things like that? I understand what you're saying. As an individual, you definitely have the right to be able to move in silence. But you got to understand, a lot of this information is already out here, bro. It's already out here. We in the informational age, all right? So you can move in silence as an individual for sure. That's what you're comfortable with. But that's not going to stop millions of content creators make content when they travel. You know, uh, the fortunate thing about YouTube is you can do it from anywhere. All right. And you're building up a catalog of residual income. So, those dollars are trickle in monthly. Even videos you did from maybe even years ago might make a few bucks every month. So anytime something has been monetized and people making money off of it, you're going to get people to film content. There's really nothing you can do about it. So I wouldn't even stress about that. To people to say, hey man, y'all you stop making content. Hey man, good luck with that. All right, we got Darren Bowen in the building. He says, "Why don't she go after the Europeans who have been going down there for tourism, ex-tourism, uh, since since the 1960s?" Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. That's another thing. That's why you gotta take her with a grain of salt, man, because you got people with way bigger channels pretty much doing what she's saying that they're, uh basically saying that what, some of the passport guys are doing, right? And she doesn't mess with them. And that was one of the questions that was posed to her on that Tanya TKO show. That was one of the questions that was posed to this. She asked, she said, well, why aren't you going over these against these guys to, have way bigger channels, way bigger reach? And she really couldn't explain it. As a matter of fact, I think Habiro's husband made a statement to say, well, they're not really putting it out there like that. That's why we don't go after them, which is a complete lie. All right. I can literally show you content creators, all right, of a different hue, with 600 some thousand subscribers, millions of views, asking the exact same questions on the beach. All right, with very racy thumbnails. So yeah, she's doing it for political gain, most definitely. All right, Zay asked, "What's the talking subject again?" We just saying, what's the next move for the Passport Bros movement, man? We just chopping up today. It's a no cam show. We're discussing some of the, uh, some of the things that's been going on with the media, the press, and concerns of guys traveling. The Passport Bro ideology, or the hashtag rather. So we just chopping up today. It's a no cam show, man. Hey, we got 116 in the building. You guys do me a favor and hit that like button. Somebody said Brazil. Vizio W says Brazil is the United States of South America. It's definitely getting there. It was times I was in Brazil and I felt like I was in Orlando for sure. James Jones says, I think Thailand would be a better fit for me when the Philippines, then the Philippines seems very, well, I don't know about that, James Jones. All right, shout out to Donovan51. Says, shout out to you, BMT, in the chat. I'll be in DR Friday and Rio next week. Shout out to you, bro. This is Janitos Clutch. You in the building? I think you're on mute. There you
All right, there we go. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear, bro.
Hey, good stuff. Hey, so yeah, I remember getting in not the panel, but in the discussion a couple of nights ago. But it was past midnight where I was, so that's why I didn't hop on with the rest of the panelists. But first of all, so I will say this in your defense. I'm not trying to butter you nor the passport pros movement up when I say this. This slandering of passport bros going there, doing illicit acts with underage women, all that kind of stuff, completely false. I don't believe it one bit. And for the most part, as I said, this is just a combination of people back home who are pissed off that black men have some sort of exit from the script, and people overseas just pissed off because, it isn't Sadie who's doing all the activities. So, that being said, however, there are some bad apples and or people who claim to be passport pros who are moving sketchy. And my critique about it is that there isn't a lot of policing that is done towards those guys. And I know you're going to say it's a decentralized movement. We can't control passport pros. Okay, I get that. But this is the risk that comes with that. It's sort of like cryptocurrency where, okay, yeah, it's decentralized. It's not controlled by the banks, but it's subject to so much volatility. It's so much scams and schemes. So you you realize this. You've done this more than I have when it comes to passport bros and the group monitoring kind of thing. This is the bad that comes along with the good.
Mm-hmm. That's true, man. And you've been around for a minute, man. I remember when we were on panels. I don't know if you remember this, but it was certain panels that I was on, and they ran me off the panels. I always pull this up, and guys were cussing me out, calling me a coward, this, coward, that. I'm running from the responsibilities of the black community, all this stuff. And now those same guys are supporting the passport bro ideology.
Look, towards those guys, they're doing this reconnaissance strategy. Look, back then it was about pandering to the community, particularly what they thought the community wanted to hear, which was, hey, you productive black men, thinking black men, good black men, or black men who are seen as ELs or not pookies. You got to be our eunuchs, and you got to stay here to basically help us bail out ourselves after we're done with the mess and we're done with the fun. And the thing I respect about Passport Bros movement is that these guys were among many other guys, SYSBM and other groups included, just as small fringes as they are. That said, no, we're not going to go along with the script. No, we're going to tear this page off the book of the playbook of the so-called community, and we're not going to be your stepdaddies. We're not going to be your beta male providers. We're not going to be your walking ATMs. We're not going to be your Russell Wilsons or whoever after you're done, or just doing whatever. Done with Pookie, done with wrecking the community, done with uh, blaspheming the black image. And that is something that I will commend Passport Bros for. As far as the way it moves and how many people have claimed Passport Bros, and how Passport Bros has embraced all shades of blackness. That is something that we can critique and debate, because I'll be honest in saying that I'm sort of an elitist prick. And if I was in your position, there would not be as many brothers who would be able to feel comfortable rocking the Passport Bro label. But that's just me and my philosophy of believing in more quality control, to see who is out there and representing the PB label, especially if it's predominantly black men. Because I've been in parts of the world where you got these alt writers thinking they run the ship, and these guys are like 2% of the population, if that. But they still have this attitude, and it would be nothing more than to make their dreams come true if the slanderous image of Passport Bros becomes the main image, not just of Passport Bros, but of black men in general.
So
And
do you
that's where it's
think this feminist white boyfriend that she has, he's alt right in Brazil? You think he's a Brazilian alt right and he wants this and he's using her like you just
Yoga,
kind of
yoga,
pointed out?
yoga. Yeah, your audio super loud, bro. Can you turn down
yeah,
a little
yeah,
bit?
yeah.
My bad, I'm on something new.
Yeah.
Are you in an empty
And
room?
her
Sorry,
boy her husband
No,
is
I'm just
black, by
messing
the
with
way, bro.
he's black
Yeah, he's black.
and
you. Hold
he's
on.
pushing her to go at Austin.
Ain't,
I don't
ain't
think he's.
nobody ain't nobody doing the pushing but her. He's not the type of that. From what I could tell, he's not the head of the relationship. From what I can tell.
Not
Oh
surprised.
wow, so they just Brazilian coons, him and her.
Hey, you gotta call him like you see him, bro.
And they scared to go at any of the Caucasian
Whatever you call it.
pedophiles that's known in South America. They're scared to go at any of the Caucasian YouTubers that are self-admitted six packs on the internet. They won't go at
Well,
any of them.
I don't want to just single out, the Europe the Europeans. It's when it comes to Brazil, it's one of those countries that people from all over the world visit and possibly do things they shouldn't be doing.
Yeah, but they're not pointing out any of them. They're just taking black American or men, black men that come from America.
This is very true. This is
And
very
that's
true.
why I'm looking at it in that way. I'm like, why they don't have a whole commission and the Brazilian CNN got in on it? Why they didn't do that amongst the German travelers or the Australian travelers? They took what it's kind of like the whole big movement got bigger when Kevin Samuels passed. What grew from that? It's like they just chose the term, the hottest term, which is the hashtag that you kind of came up with, Passport Bros, and they saw that other black men was catching on to it, and it's a direct attack at that.
Good point. That's a good point. The Mikey story, you there?
What's going on, brother?
What's good? What's good?
Hey, man. So, I just want to add something to the conversation. By the way, shout out to Yoga Yoga and my other guy that's on the panel. By the way. Um, anyways, so I was at the brothers meetup, by the way, in your area, by the way, at the at Cafe Life, at Cajun Cafe Life, right? Which is in
Mhm.
your area, by the way, BMT.
Chocolate Man's meetup.
Yeah,
Yeah,
John
yeah,
P.
yeah. I was
Yeah.
just there. Yeah, I was just there. And funny, we were just having a very interesting conversation, which kind of ties into what you guys are talking about. That right now, supposedly in the USA, where there is such um, a backup of getting your passports, where it could literally take you months, as opposed to, it could take you, like, let's say a week or two to get your passport. And for me, that was very telling, because I realized that everything that we all were discussing, basically, was that people are obviously leaving the USA, and because there's such an influx lately of people leaving the USA, that everybody's trying to get their passports to basically get out of Dodge. You know.
Hmm.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. This is a great
Good
topic, but
afternoon.
I have a few questions to ask. I've been hearing a lot of like allegations about particularly black passport males um, talking about yeah, go overseas, yeah, get your passport, and what has been reported um, has been allegations of sex trafficking on the behalf of these black male passport bros or whatever you want to call yourselves.
Now, now, is it?
Can y'all
Hold, wait,
address that? Can
hold on,
y'all
real
address
quick.
that rumor?
Yeah, let me. Well, let's talk about the term real quick. Sexual trafficking. The sexual trafficking is on the other half, right? Sexual. The definition of sexual trafficking is actually what would be the process of taking women and putting them out there on the stroll, basically. So it would be the pimps and the guys with the actual infrastructure, the clubs or the bars or something. So that's like a mislabel right there. It's not actually sex trafficking. But what some of the allegations are accusing of is actual, sexual tourism, rather, or
Being a
promotion of sexual
John.
tourism. Yeah, being a John, basically.
Being a John, not setting
And
up the system.
exactly, exactly. So the sexual trafficking would be coming from more so of criminal organizations per se, and nobody has a criminal organization because those are ran by let's say people with a lot of stake in power. I'm not going to call out any particular criminal groups or anything like that. But the terminology of that right there is often itself. Now, as far as the sexual tourism, uh, we are not the face of it, and we never will be the face of it. It's actually people, other people that are the face of it, that are participating in that way more. Now, individually, people gonna do what they do, bro. People travel to all types of countries. People travel to America, to
For
Vegas,
sex tourism. They come to
for
Atlanta for Magic
people,
City. They know about
people,
it.
people go to Atlanta. People go to New York. People go to DC to go to certain clubs and
For the
bars,
girls.
areas in certain districts. All right, so that's
That's
worldwide,
back
bro.
at home.
That's worldwide. So
That's
uh,
anywhere.
that's anywhere. Exactly,
Yeah. Yeah.
exactly. And it's a very unfair tag to just kind of just throw in the mix in order to be able to uh, uh, not, I don't want to say dissuade, but
Say the brothers that travel is
the
on gotta
tarnish,
defend that. Yeah.
right? To tarnish of what guys are really doing overseas for the most part. As if
Man,
you
in the
watch the channel,
USA, when we get a good business deal, guys go to the strip club to celebrate it, and nothing is said about it.
exactly. And if you look at this channel, I'm always showing men starting businesses, setting up infrastructure, helping the people learn the language, getting in long-term relationships. I always try to highlight that because that's what's really going on. That's the truth of the matter.
Are
So did
there
that?
any legal ramifications for getting these charges or getting these allegations addressed? Because for mostly black women and some black men on YouTube and saying this stuff. And I've been asking these questions like, how do you know they're doing this? Or how do you know this is happening? And then they'll point to a video of some black male talking
One, two,
about
one,
he
two.
gave a woman $5 to suck his phallus.
All right, well, let's keep it clean, bro. It's still YouTube.
Yes, sir. I mean,
Yeah, let's keep it
saying all
clean.
So
that
what
other
are you
stuff.
asking? You asking why don't they get sued? The individual
Yes,
that the individual will have to sue them. Black man's travel. Someone who makes up a hashtag can't sue them. Like if they're talking about Austin in Brazil and slandering Austin, we cannot sue them for Austin. Austin will have to sue them. You get it? So each
yes, sir.
individual person will have to do that. Now, what we can do is we can kind of do like some of the other brothers I do. They gather funds and they go bail brothers out for protesting and different things like that for black activists. We can do something like get some funds together, start something like that to start suing these international figureheads that want to go online and try to make that label for all black men. We can do that, something like that.
Because
Right.
what I come to think of, I think this is a smear campaign at
Exactly.
what black males are doing because there there are some black women out there who feel like, well, you know, we're losing our value as far as man on, getting finding a compatible person, and they see you guys doing this or going out overseas and actually doing something of constructive value. Oh, now it's time to use something as serious as a criminal charge
I think it's
of that
deeper than that,
magnitude
Linwood.
And
I
to
you know
think
go
it's
what?
that
deeper than
far.
that.
You know what? Another thing, and I will say this, man. There are sisters that do understand and actually support their sisters, their women, foreign women, that understand why a lot of men are deciding to take their resources overseas and try to find more traditional women in order to be able to stay in their children's lives and raise their children's and cement their legacy and be able to pass wealth down without actually having to be married to the state and the system of the state. What people got to understand is when you do that marriage contract, you're not marrying her necessarily. You're married to state,
And they
right?
don't show you
And
that
she
part of the
actually
contract.
benefits for separating from you. She benefits from that, right?
Incentives.
And they know that. Yeah, they have incentives. And
Incentives
who would
called
go
no
into
fault divorce
a
and alimony
contractual,
and child support.
right? And what men are very logical, right? And you do business, and because anytime you deal with paperwork, that's pretty much business. Technically, that's business. Why would you get into a contractual agreement with somebody when you don't have any fail safes to protect you and your resources? It just doesn't make sense. And a lot of men are taking heed of that, black, white, green, or yellow. They're just saying, you know what? I want a relationship. I want children. I want a family. I want a legacy, but I don't want to be married in the state. Well, more than likely, the woman, she benefits from, so she wants to marry. She wants to marry within the state because she
Exactly.
knows within 5 years or 10 years or
She can
whatever
say bye
time
and take
frame,
the money in the house.
she can take 50% of what you got. She can take the home, she can take the kids, and she can get a check for you for the next 20 years. So why wouldn't she?
And that's why the
That's
movement is growing. That's
that's
the
the
main
correct point.
reason why the
That's the
movement
correct
is
point.
growing.
I'll
Period.
be
It
careful.
ain't nothing we gotta do. More brothers are being raped in the family court system. They're gonna be like, I'm gonna go and find other opportunities. Period.
Okay, I'd be careful when using that excuse. And I'm not even saying that's a good excuse or even a reason. But the reason why I say be careful in saying, oh, it's so bad here, hashtag it's that bad, I know, right? That I'm gonna go over there. First of all, it shows that a lot of passport bros and look weak. And not saying that they are, but that's gonna be the image that they're gonna use. If it's not one thing, it's another. Second, as far as going overseas, finding a wife, hey, look, I'm all for whatever you do in a legal context, which most of the passport bros are doing. I'll admit to that. Granted, there are some past people who use the hashtag passport bros symbol to basically hide their frustration that they have in the States and go overseas to, you know, be more successful there, which I'll be honest, that's fine by me, even if that is the case. So, but the thing is that as far as using saying, "Oh, the woman is so bad here, they're gonna tear you through the crossfire and all this other kind of stuff." Okay, I get it. Running to one place strategically is needed to an extent, but what is being done so that, well, actually, no, the worst thing, that's what I'm going to say. The worst thing about that is, as a lot of foreign women see that the women here treat the men awful and capitalize on that, do they not
I
also
agree with that
realize
statement.
that, do they not also realize that these guys don't have enough chutzpah to put these laws, these lopsided laws in check? Wouldn't that, wouldn't you think that would make you weak in the eyes of foreign women, particularly those who want to take advantage of that?
Hey, this is Ed. I
Go
think
ahead,
that
Ed.
I think that Passport Bros is at a crossroads. Either make it a formal organization where brothers are vetted before they can use that. If anybody attacks it, then you can take legal action. Um, or just let it continue to be what it does. And to the brother that was just speaking a few minutes ago, I'm 52 years old and I could care less what other people think. People gonna always have an opinion. If they think that I'm weak because I left the US, married a woman here in Cambodia, bought a house, built a family, then fine, I'm weak. Okay?
Congratulations, brother.
You understand what I'm saying? I mean, my thing is the fact that I left for a reason. There was a reason why I left. So does it make me more of a man that I sit back and sit in the States and deal with an argumentative woman that's not gonna sit back? I mean, I just saw a video a while ago where this chick was like, if my husband makes 50,000 and I make 150,000, 3 times more, we need to live off his 50,000 because my money ain't his money.
I
But
seen
y'all
that
are
video.
married.
I seen that video.
You saw that video, Aaron?
Hmm.
That's the type of foolishness I think. And back to what I said earlier, Aaron, and me and you can talk offline. Is show the receipts of the brothers that are living overseas, like myself, that have built families, that have built businesses. Because you can't stop in this YouTube world, social media environment, space that we live in. People are gonna capitalize, positive or negative. They
Hmm.
want clicks. They want views. You know what I'm saying? They want subscribers. I am always a champion of anybody finding a place where they find peace, love, acceptance, and respect. I don't care
Hmm.
where that is. And if you're not getting that in the States, look, dude, I've been through 2 divorces, so you ain't got to tell me about how the system is stacked against you. She took damn near everything that I had, all the money I put in the house, everything that I did. I got a small portion of that back. So, Aaron, I think that either Passport Bros is at a crossroads. You know, it can become an organization that we can go to a country like Brazil or Colombia and say, look, man, we want to have an international event in Colombia. We're going to have it in, whatever city it is, and it's going to be of economic impact to your economy. I'm going to bring in 300 brothers that are spending money, getting Airbnbs, this and that. But, but either needs to be galvanized or we need to stop complaining about what other people say. You can't control them.
Hmm. That's a good
Fair
point.
enough.
That's a good point. Chris Taylor, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. What's up, BMT?
What's good? What's good?
Yeah, I don't usually do these call-ins or anything like that. This first time for me, but I have been a supporter of the Passport Bros, heavy supporter of Austin, and the stuff that's happened recently, man, it kind of upset me a little bit because it's like, damn, every time we get something going that look like we got a little bit of power, something happens to derail it. People want to run away. People want to hide, and then look at what we hiding and running from. You know what I'm saying? A broke chick in Brazil. We can put some money together and sue this lady out of her mind next week. You know what I'm saying? The reason people keep attacking us and feeling like it's okay is because we don't fight back. And the more you
Hmm.
don't fight back, the more bullies you get, the more fighting you got to do. If nobody's afraid of us, we never gonna have any power, man. So
Hmm.
we need to start putting some foot to ass. in America and outside of America. You talk about the passport bros, that's your ass. Did that get around and that get to be the norm? This should have cut out real quick. But that's all I wanted to say.
Valid point. Valid point. Xander, Close, you want to respond to that?
Oh, to be honest, okay, go on here. So what the other guy just said about putting foot to asses, I'd much rather hear about that than less bitching about American women content, because it's sort of sounding like some red pill raging crap. Passport bros are above that. And just to go with was it Ed Ed Travels, right? You said leaving the US and leaving the current predicament doesn't make you weak. No, I never said that. Especially going overseas to be productive, to make families, that doesn't make you weak. The fact is that some guys hone it and use the justification or the rationalization of, oh, it's so bad back there. Past that gets that bad that I had to leave. There was no other choice, man. The white supremacy, man. Well, you know what? Do what other groups who were oppressed in this country did. And yes, other groups were oppressed. We can debate the degrees, but they were oppressed one way or another. Do what they did and put some foot to asses, mainly in a legal, civilized manner, whether it's getting lawyers, raising lawyers, getting infrastructure, getting attorneys, hell, buying Congress, for goodness sakes. America is on sale if you haven't noticed. And if you need to buy some congressmen, go up to your local lobbying firm in K Street, Northwest Washington, D.C. And if you get enough money, you will have some individuals, some firms, especially even some black ones, because D.C. is supposed to be the black mecca, right? That will lobby Congress on your behalf of whatever you want to do, whether it's take down anyone who blasphemes the name Passport Bros or anything whatsoever, or take down anyone who wants to talk trash about black men overseas and what they do while not talking trash about other men. Look, as far as focusing on the women, focusing in on the pH content balance of all this other kind of stuff, look, this is borderline SBE. And that is something that Passport Bros don't need.
I agree.
My apologies, first of all, brother, if I didn't quite understand what your comments are. I'm never about us as black men being at odds. So I apologize if I did that. My bad. That's you know what I'm saying? And secondly, in order for that to happen, in order for that to happen, like you said, which I agree with you 100%, is that the Passport Bros has to be an organization. In order for you to have a lobbyist on your side, you have to have a foundation. You have to sit back and say, hey, listen, we're an organization. We vet the men to the best of our ability, because you can't. I mean, it's virtually impossible to vet everybody. But in order to be a passport bro, you need to send your passport photo. You know what I'm saying? You need to send a photo of your stamps before you can use it. And you sit back and use that power together, the $1.6 trillion that black men spend. That's a lot of money. That's a lot.
Is that just black men or black people in it?
Yeah, black men. Black men, 1.6 trillion that we spend in our travel, in period, the purchasing power of our community. You know what I'm saying? And sit back and say, listen, let's go to DC. I used to live in DC. Let's get a lobbyist and say, hey, listen, we are an economic force. We are a group of guys that want the best for our constituents, and make it an organization. Right. And then turn around, because you know what happened, Aaron, is that I had a sister hit me up in my comments saying that my wife was an XCX slave, that I was a high priced John, disparaged my kids, my family. And I told her, I can get a lawyer to sue you, get your username, Google, we can subpoena Google and find out where you are, and I'll take some of that only man's money you making. If I gotta just take you to court just for the just for the heck of it, just so that
Mhm.
you'd have to get an attorney. And I think, and I agree, foot to ass, you need to start holding these people accountable for the slander that they're using.
That's a good point. And a lot of people don't realize that there are special law firms that deal with defamational cases online, right? And they will turn over they will be forced, the social media will be forced to turn over your
Info.
actual information in order to pursue a lawsuit. I mean, you got actually law firms that actually specialize in this, and defamation is going to get bigger and bigger as social media grows more and more, because people are getting tired of people just hurling baseless accusations to be able to prove a point of something that they generally just don't agree with, and that's where a lot of these issues it just they don't agree with what we're doing for whatever reason, and they decide to hurl, like I say, baseless accusations. I want to welcome Miss Dre to the kid to the show.
What's going on, bro?
Hey, what's good? What's good? What's your thoughts on this right here, man?
Hey, I'm getting caught up. So I don't want to add too much just yet. I got to get caught up on what you guys are talking about. I got your message.
Okay, cool. Perfect. All right. Well, we got 198 in the building, man. You guys, do me a favor. Make sure you hit that like button. We just chopping up today. This is a no cam show. We just want to know what's the next move for Passport Bros. What should be the next move? How should we deal with all this slander that's going on online? And just what's your take on it?
Hey,
All
but
right.
but Aaron, I want to ask a question to you in the panel. Don't you think that me, in my personal opinion, I think there are two main reasons why there's a lot of hate and backlash. Number one, we're taking our money, our resources, our talent, and we're leaving the matrix. That scares people, especially when it comes to some women, even men, that they want to keep the simps there. They want to scare them so that they don't exercise their options because they need them. Simps are needed at some point. And secondly, the powers that be, and we all know what that is, don't like to see any group of, especially black men, in a cohesive, positive, group that sit back and do things for us. It's almost, and I hate to say this because I'm not a race monger, but I hate to say this. It's almost like, when Massa saw all the slaves all of a sudden sit back and start talking to each other, he started getting worried that there's going to be a rebellion like some Nate Turner stuff. And I think that, to some point, they don't want to see us be cohesive. They don't want to see us working together. They don't want to see us traveling and exercising our options. And I think that that's where some of the slander comes from.
But do you think
Well,
it's really? But I mean, do you think it's really them per se? Because a lot of them want us out the country.
I
When you
agree
think
with what
about
he
it,
just said, Aaron.
right? But what about all the organizations that would prefer? They always say, "Go back to Africa or get out of America if you don't like it here." What about that?
I think that that's a small percentage overall. I think overall the people that are behind the scenes really running it need our money. The record companies that sit back and allow this like drill music and all that kind of stuff where people talking about deleting each other and all that because they're making money off of it. They need the foolishness. They need the ratchet behavior because they making money off of it. But see, Aaron, I think what we need to look at is the fact that the brothers that are really in the movement are smart, intelligent, respectful guys that go against exactly what you just said. We not the ratchet dudes that's out there in the streets and acting ignorant. We're the guys that are leaving, traveling, learning the culture, establishing businesses, creating lives, and that's not an image that some people want to be seen.
well, let me jump in, I guess. All right. So I'd say that these type of topics, how many of the individuals that are currently overseas actually care anything about any of this outside of the content creators? Because on a day-to-day basis, none of this stuff means a hill of beans to any of us. It barely even crosses our mind because and it's not a knock to the guys that live in the States for whatever reason, or you want to move out, you can't, or you haven't, whatever the case may be as to why you're still in the States. This is a thing that is a day-to-day back home in the States the drama, the back and forth, the he said, she said. It's obvious why that stuff generates revenue, and it's going to continue to be that way. But when you overseas, bro, we don't have time for none of this kind of stuff. Like, it doesn't even cross your mind because it's not around you. It's not within any of these cultures that we're in. What you do overseas, how you do it, those people mind their own business. You mind your own business. Anything illegal, the police are going to deal with it. Like, all that extra talk back home is always from people that are sitting at home talking about people overseas. And a lot of the times it's obvious that they either don't travel enough or they don't travel at all because of the type of broad stereotypes that they apply to foreigners. And as Black
Facts.
people, we know, about stereotypes and such. So we'll be up in arms when the police profile us or say we're all angry, this, that, and the third. But we'll turn around and we'll talk about people from other countries like they're dogs. Like, we look down on them because they foreigners and we supposed to be better because we American, when the majority of these people likely don't live in areas that are too much better than where some of these other people live at in these other countries that live in major cities. So it's not an even balance. It's clear hate. And for whatever your reasons are for hating, that's on them. But when you jump on that plane and go and you're living in these countries like the majority of us do, you get long-term visas, bank accounts, credit in these countries. What them people talking about back home? Like, come on, man. Like, you shouldn't even have time for it.
That's a good point. That's a good point. I want to catch the super chat real quick and we'll get right back to the show by Bishop NYC23 with a $10 super chat. Man, I really appreciate that. He says, the people that hate really don't even travel. That's what Dre was just mentioning. And really, how many women do you know really want to see you happy in the U.S.? And we need to stop the myth that these countries we travel to are third world. That's a very good point. Very true. And the thing is, a lot of us don't even refer to these countries as third world, to be honest with you.
I think we talking about it. It just got serious when they put the bogus allegations on Austin, and then their study still pushing it, like saying stuff like investigation and stuff like that. If he comes back to Brazil, I think that's what the alarming part is, because we're like, hold on, y'all are doing some fake Deshaun Watson type stuff to a brother that's traveling, got a YouTube page. Y'all just saying this out of nowhere and trying to line people up. I think that was
buzzwords.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, they want to throw out third world countries, and what you immediately think about is mud huts and different stuff like that. And I'm sitting in a building. I got a rooftop pool. I got a gym in my building. I got a nice view of the city. Ain't nothing third world about this building.
I just want to say that when I grow up, I want to be like Dre the Kid. I mean,
Where you at, bro? You one with the condo on the pool? You in DR, Colombia, Brazil? Where you at?
Nah, I'm still in Barranquilla.
Oh, okay.
Like Aaron can attest to this. I've lived in Southeast Asia. I live in Cambodia. I'm only an hour away from Bangkok. Bangkok is one of the most progressive modern cities in the world.
It really is.
The Saudi royal family comes to Bangkok for their medical care. Think about that.
Well, see, most of them people can't even pick these places out on a map. So why would we even be concerned about what they're talking about?
And what I do is when these people hit me up on my platform with all this foolishness, I totally ignore them. There was something that our Global Passport crew said the other night, Aaron. We said that he wanted on April 1st, from that day forward, the people not even address what these idiots have to say. He said from that day forward, we just need to be quiet about it. Just don't even
pretty much.
Yeah, because you give them a platform when you address it. I had a sister come on and tell me how sorry passport bros. Well, if y'all could read some of the comments, I'm pretty sure you get them too, Aaron. I mean, all these comments. You know what I told her? I said, I'm dusty, I'm crusty, I'm no good, according to you. I said, I'm going to the dusty, crusty, no good conference overseas, and you're independent, so you got it, sis. Much love. Good luck to you. And just leave it. And they have nothing else to say after that.
Yeah, most of it's not really logical. It's like I said, you got I mean, I know several gentlemen that have spoken to me about how to get long-term visas in different countries, bank accounts and stuff set up, and are actually doing it. When you struggling with one, Bank of America account, seems like everybody got Bank of America in the States, but you sitting there with your one bank account in the States, living paycheck to paycheck, talking about somebody that has the means to travel, live overseas long term or for extended vacations, and they have accounts and credit in that particular country or multiple countries, working on dual plus citizenships. What kind of conversation is that?
That's
What do
why
you have
we need to
negative to say against that? Like, you don't even sound logical. That's why I don't even hit it.
I think we need to show receipts. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
I
it's
say
like
you ain't got to show them folks nothing. Just go do what you got to do.
I'm doing what I'm doing, but what I'm saying is, on our platforms, that we have the right, to
platforms.
show that, to sit back and say, hey, listen, this is how we live, and let me feature a whole series on brothers that are married, on brothers that got businesses, on brothers that are leaving to live a good life, because I think the hypocrisy, the lack of accountability from these people is astounding to me. I see the super chat right there about Austin. Austin, I don't know
let
whether
me
he's
let,
still.
let,
Yeah,
let,
go
let me
ahead.
read that
Go
real
ahead.
quick. But shout out to Mr. G's World with $2 super chat, man. I really appreciate that once again. He says Austin Holloman, great leader of the Passport Bros. I think he's joking around, but Austin never claimed that. Like, he never said he was the leader of the Passport Bros. That was kind of put on him unfairly by people that wanted to get clicks and views for talking points in their YouTube videos. I got another super chat here by Mr. G's World again. Once again, appreciate the $2 super chat. It's all good until the kids showed up. I don't want to make this show about him per se, but we're just discussing what's the next move. But go ahead, Air Travels. You go ahead.
Man, Austin has a following. I'm proud of the brother. Yes, people, but my thing, not just to him, but to anybody, is don't create a climate and then complain about the weather. You understand what I'm saying? If you're gonna post on your platform, for those content creators that are listening, and you're gonna post mangoes and big booties and all of that type of stuff, then you coming across that's what your focus is. That's what you're traveling for. So don't be surprised when people come at you saying that you're an XCX tourist and you just going for these women and all of that kind of stuff, when that's what you're showing. That's what you're showing. That's what the focus of it is.
Yeah, because at the same time, people entitled to their opinions as well. That don't mean you got to listen to it. So if that's the way they think of you, that's how they think of you. Maybe you are giving off some sort of perception or stereotype that is leading them to believe that. But how you respond to that is what matters.
Yeah, true. I agree with that. I mean, the thing for me, what I'm learning hard is that, along with with being seen, being known, you also got to take the flip side of that as well. You have to be a good citizen in whatever country that you're living in. Just like our great philosopher, the GOAT MC Rakim said, "It's not where you're from, it's where you're at." You can't go down. I'm not in Decatur no more. You know what I'm saying? So if I'm in Cambodia, I got to learn how to move the way according to the rules of this country where I'm living at.
That's very true. And there are a lot of, and I tell people all the time, before you come to these countries, man, make sure you take a look at what's legal and what's illegal, because you'll be surprised. They have some crazy laws out here, man. Well, we would deem as crazy. I give you prime example. You can't chew gum in Singapore, and you can't be found with any type of marijuana in your system whatsoever. They'll give you a drug test right there on the spot. So you got different laws, and in some of these countries, you can't even film the women in a certain light, because that's illegal as well, because they might feel like you're portraying their women in a certain way. So guys, they just pull up to these countries, they feel like they can do whatever they want because we have such a liberal system in America. And I tell guys, hey man, you need to be really careful about what you put out online, as well as make sure that the countries that you guys go to are in a safe area. Like, you need to know what's going on with the crime in the area before you purchase land or move long term, and you're going somewhere and you don't know that they kidnap tourists or they kidnap Americans. And then you're in this bad area, and all types of things can happen. And you're banking on the fact that you're an American citizen and the American is gonna come and get you, and then you find out that America ain't coming to get you, man. They're not coming to get
Not
you.
when you're in the wrong.
Or if you're in the right, or if it's a situation.
Yeah, even if you're in the right, because I mean, we see that a lot, especially when we were in Medellin. It's like a lot of people, they'll watch, the content, be excited about traveling, and you travel and start moving like you just went to another state. Like you're familiar passively with the laws because we grew up with the laws in the States. So going to different states is not that much difference. But then you come down here and you run across some cultural differences, or the fact that, down here, these people will bump into you and won't even look twice. And it's normal. But to us, that's not normal. And then you go to reacting or, different things like that.
I don't mean to interrupt you, Dre, but that's so true, man. That's something I had to get used to. Was overseas, there's really like no personal space per se, and in America that could start a whole situation if you bump into somebody or crowd somebody, or it's different cultural things. You have to realize, okay, let me calm down. This is in America where you bump your horn, or you have a lot of conflict. It's a different world. But go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, it's just I'm glad that there's a lot of content creators out there that can at least put out the information for people that are willing to learn before you step foot into some of these countries, because a lot of it is, a difference of night and day. The people think and move differently because the cultures are different. They're not exposed to the same type of things that we do day to day, or why certain things are done, or you come into the country and they move a particular way, and you out in shorts, they don't wear shorts, and you thinking you fresh, and the chick's looking at you like you're poor. Those like small stuff, it just depends on where you're going. You got to, learn the culture.
Extremely important, and that's one of the things that learn the language, learn the culture, learn where to go, what not to go, who to deal with, who not to deal with, developing your circle. That's what take up more. That's what take up more of your mind space than what's going on in America per se, like you said earlier. I want to shout out to Mr. G's World again with the $5 super chat, man. Once again, I appreciate that. He said, bro, now I got dudes saying that Brazil is another United States. Some even say we need to boycott Brazil. What is wrong with y'all ninjas? All right, so shout out to Mr. G's World. He's referring to people in the comment section, but shout out to Mr. G's World. And shout out to Air Travel. Air Travel is on the panel, but he super chatted. So, man, he said, good convo, bros. Appreciate $2 super chat, Air Travels, man. And shout out to you, man, out there in Cambodia. You put me on to Cambodia. I've been to Cambodia about 4 or 5 times now on the low. It's a beautiful country, man. Very beautiful. You feel like you like one with nature when you go down to Cambodia, man. So shout out to you, Air Travels. Appreciate you putting me on.
Well, I really thank you. I think the reason why is I really love this culture is the fact that it is a little less developed than, say, Thailand or even Vietnam.
Zoom in the building? I don't see Zoom. Somebody said Zoom in here?
Yeah, Zoom is in there. Zoom inspired me. Zoom has been in this space. Zoom has been in this space doing big things for a long time, and that's one of my inspirations as well, to come back and show the fact that if you want a slower pace of life, you want somewhere where you can just chill, do you with a group of people that are proud of who they are. If anybody knows anything about the Khmer Rouge and the killing fields and what these people have been through, they've been through a lot. And you come here and you want your money to, the exchange rate here doesn't really fluctuate. It's basically 4,000 real to $1, and it stays steady. This is a great place. And you're an hour from from Bangkok. You're an hour from Ho Chi Minh. You are out, 2 hours, 2.5 hours from the Philippines. You 3 hours from Indonesia. You in the middle of Southeast Asia. It's a nice option if that works for you.
Can I say something, Aaron, to something you said earlier? I just thought about this. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
Oh, okay. Aaron, earlier somebody posted a comment and said, moving in silence. I think they said something like that. Said why don't passport bros move in silence? And Aaron kind of responded to it. So it made me think, all right, no other YouTubers have been got kind of like false allegations put on them like in a major way like this happened to Austin. And I met Austin out in Thailand and gave him a little game. But this just made me look at it this way. All right, when Jason Black did that review on Austin, and he showed when Austin came onto his show, Austin admitted on his show that he was going down to Colombia dealing with mangoes. And I want to point that out. I want to point that out.
I don't want to point that out, bro. I didn't
Oh,
see it.
back
So,
to what the guy was saying, move in silence. Remember that comment
right.
said, why don't the passport bros move in silence? Once you publicly say something like that on one of these platforms, it gives the open door to people who looking for clout chasing on YouTube to come at it. And that's where the heart of this came from. That's what I was saying. And so that kind of was a good thing. Moving silence when you talking about your private life as far as how you deal with women, because it opens the door for these type of things. That's what I'm saying. So moving in silence is good for the aspect of don't be on the internet and YouTube saying how you deal with women in a sexual manner. Keep that private. Everything else you can show going out on dates and normal type life stuff.
Can I
Okay,
say
well,
something real quick?
I didn't see that part, bro. But
Yeah, good
Yeah, he was
afternoon.
on Jason Black's show. He was in the car, and he said, "I went to Colombia, and I dealt with
yeah,
mangoes." And Jason said, "Well, you still doing?" He said, "No, I just dealt with a couple." And I was like, "Oh man!" And
No,
now
I'm
I
not
see how
sure,
they coming
Yoga.
in based off of that.
Yoga, I think you're correct. Yeah, good afternoon, my brothers. Um, Unfortunately, the young man made a made a mistake. He should have never went on Jason. But like, there are some guys who are extremely intellectuals, real smart people. They don't even want to. They don't even want to have a conversation with Jason Black, right? Partly, I mean, Jason Black is really smart, but partly sometimes Jason Black um he's intentional in making you look like a fool, or it seems like the conversation is in bad faith or whatnot. But the young man did slip up. He did admit with dealing with mango. And then another thing I want to say regarding this whole issue, we do have to move like gentlemen, man. Just move like gentlemen. Some things should be behind closed doors. If I'm not mistaken, I don't think I've ever seen BMT. I'm talking about you, BMT on here. I've never seen you, being flashy with women and things of that nature. Because I mean, you don't need to be. When you go to these countries, that is such second nature. So it doesn't need to be. There's so much things you could cover, right? And then another thing that I see happening with, as far as quote unquote movement, the whole godlike cult-like following that people are having is sickening to me. I've seen people talking about, oh, they want to boycott. Oh, we should boycott Brazil, yada, yada, blah, blah, blah. Oh, Brazil is another United States. Really? Brazil is another United States? How? This is crazy, man.
Good point. I want to welcome Chad the Great to the show. I know you've been in there. Well, actually, hold on. My bad, Chad. Let me get to Philip. Is that Philippi? Let me get to him first because he's been sitting out there for a minute. He came in earlier.
Hey, Aaron. Thanks for having me in, man. And look, I just wanted to come on for a second because some of the stuff that's being said, Yoga just brought this up, and I just want to kind of add to the conversation a little bit. And then, I can give some background. I did live abroad. I lived in Mexico for a while, but I've also lived in Italy. I lived in England. And this is the issue, at least from my standpoint. And that is that we're talking too much. There's a certain aspect of when you live abroad that you don't need to put that on the internet. Now, in that
Exactly.
In that same context, I'm not saying don't share the good information and opportunities that there are to go abroad and build and buy assets and to improve your life, because you can do that because of the currency swap. That is excellent. The problem is that we don't need to broadcast everything that you see in the country. If people want to see it, get on a plane and they can see it themselves. With regards to the money stuff, there's a whole aspect of taxes and having accounts abroad and so on that just generally should not be discussed on the internet. If you want to do that, hire Aaron for a consultation, hire these people on the panel that are living in these places, and get the real professional advice. We need to professionalize some of what's going on. And I'm saying that as a lawyer. I'm a lawyer. And it just is frustrating to watch this, where we have people that have good information to share, but then in the middle of it, they start sharing stuff they shouldn't be sharing on the internet. And so that's why I came up, was to say, look, learn the lesson. This is a real thing with real life and real assets and real money. If you want to participate in that and share, hire people that are in these places for consultations and professionalize what you're doing. It is not an opportunity to sit and humble brag and talk about, I'm doing this and I'm doing that. That's not internet appropriate, in my opinion. So that's what I came up to say, was like, look, I'm not trying to silence anybody. I'm not trying to say, hey, don't share information that can help our people as we move abroad. But don't sit there and start bragging about moving abroad. You still got to pay taxes in the United States, folks. And it gets complicated depending on what you got abroad. It just is. So we got to get serious about it. So that's more or less what I want to say. I'll throw it to the panel.
Well, I want to ask you a question before you go as a lawyer.
Yeah. I'm not going to give you legal advice.
No, not legal advice, but I want to ask you about defamation real quick. As far as, is it viable to sue somebody for defamation that lives overseas for slander?
It depends, because it has to, first of all, you have to figure out whether the person that allegedly is being defamed is a public figure or not, because the rule changes depending on if you're a public figure. And having a YouTube channel, depending on how big your following is and what kind of public presence you have, I don't know, you'd have to look at the case law to figure out which standard you adhere to. As a private citizen, the standard is lower, okay? But as a general proposition, you need to, as I just was saying about the money thing, you need to hire a lawyer. I'm a corporate lawyer. I'm not a defamation lawyer. But the bottom line is that, yes, it's a complex issue. And if it's affecting your brand as a YouTuber or as a business person, then perhaps you should. But the standard is, in part, who are you? Are you a public figure or are you a private citizen? So did I answer your question?
Yeah, you answered my question. Okay. Let me catch a super chat. I'm going to go to Chad the Great. He's been waiting patiently out there for a minute. Shout out to WM_West Africa 1980. $2 super chat. He says, can't bring private convo talk to public spaces. I definitely agree with that. Chad the Great, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right.
So a few points to add to the conversation. So Social Security runs out in 2032. The government doesn't have a plan to fix that situation at the moment. And it was, as we all know, unemployment, retirement, Medicare comes from that. So brothers got a plan, or they want to set up some sort of investment overseas. Now is a good time to do that. You have to be selfish with your time and attention. That's what Kevin Samuels always said. You got to do what's best for you in today's light, because women are free to work and they're able to do whatever they want to do. It can't be controlled. So men, be free with whatever you want to do, whether it's work, travel overseas, investments, so on and so forth. Next point is the rules here really aren't going to change, because judges aren't incentivized to take men's side, because a majority of voters in the United States are women. And on top of that, judges really don't hold women accountable, because they're going to be alienating their constituents who are the voters. That's why you barely see any action taken towards women when they lie about S crimes or female domestic abuse.
Mhm.
Judges' pensions also come from child support. That's what's not.
I didn't know that.
Yes, judges' pensions come from child support, and then every time a man pays child support, the government takes a cut of it for tax money. So the government is incentivized to continually take child support from men in America. So that's never going to change. The next point is we're the only community where the women feel they own us, which is weird. No other community, and I've dealt with thousands of people over the last few years because I work in the nightlife industry. We're the only community where the women feel they're entitled to the men and their money, and they have to give nothing in return. And then on top of that, America was never built for us. So why are we so adamant about keeping people here that the country's not built for?
Mm-hmm. Good point. Let me catch the super chat by Drew G with a $9.99 super chat, $10 super chat. Really appreciate that, Drew. He says, back in the days, men like my uncle that were in the military in Germany and Panama will only share those stories in private amongst us younger men. That is very true. It's very true. I remember hearing some of them stories myself. My stepfather was in the military, and I heard a lot of stories about Vietnam and all that back in the day. So that's very true. All right. Got another comment here. It says, Mr. G, poor facts. Is any so close? You haven't spoken in a moment, man. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, so, I mean, I'm agreeing with the overall message and what needs to be done. My only thing is, in order to proceed, whether you want to call yourself passport bros, just black men who travel, or whoever, is that we got to make sure that there's no mess behind us. There's nothing that they can cling on to us and say that, hey, look, what about this? What about that? For instance, I've been seeing these reports, or some major report. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, BMT, but about hidden cameras.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I see. I seen that.
You know what? That was actually somebody's. I'm getting an echo from somebody. Everybody mute up for me, please. But that was actually taken out of context. I found out about that. That was actually for more so security measures, because in some cases when you're overseas, if the person doesn't have the items on them, the police will let them go. So if you show them a video, if you just say you're recording, your equipment or your computer or your laptop or where you have your valuables at, you're safe, and you can show the police, hey, you can see them clearly on video that the person took this. That was for that more so. So that was definitely taken out of context more so, because I actually looked into that. But once again, the person that put that story out takes a lot of things out of context. And what she does is she leverages the fact that a lot of the people that's reading her stories doesn't actually speak English like that. So that was definitely taken out of context. But like I said, the person that reported that's what she does. Is a political move.
Aaron, at the end of the day, you just got to have home training, and you got to have foresight that you out of the country, and the younger travelers they have to realize they're not back in the U.S., and it's not the same rules, and it's not the same cultural rules, and you're fair game when you're out of the country. And this just gives us an example of how Austin is actually a victim, but he put himself in a position where he was fair game, and it got blasted to an international spotlight and whatnot. So I just want to let the brother know, we know that you're not on that. That's why I dealt with the brother in real life, in person. But for the younger travelers, it's not the same, and we are a target as you see any type of opening or whatnot. And I want to say this for the record. It would have not jumped on the major level that it was without Austin being successful before this. So this is sometimes also what comes with success. So for the younger guys, this is like traveling, having insurance, getting traveler's insurance, and and having excess cash or credit cards with you. You just have to prepare for this as a black man going through this journey, internationally or domestic. They'll come at you any type of way at any type of level. So we're just more aware. That's it.
Very good point. Very good point. I want to give a shout out to Julian with a $20 super chat. I really appreciate that. He says, so don't tell the younger generation about the good and bad aspect of traveling. You guys want the younger generation to experience the same BS as the boomers and Generation X. Okay.
Yeah, can I say something in regard to that?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Because the information, we put a lot of information, at least I do. I put a lot of information out so guys won't make those same mistakes. I constantly put out information on safety and how to move overseas. So I don't necessarily agree with that.
There had always been information out there way before different YouTube content creators showed up. That doesn't mean, because they, he's having difficulty, doesn't mean that there won't be information out there. But I do think
Thailand had told Austin to chill with that type of stuff on the real, just being real. Zoom to Thailand told him personally when he first came. He said, hey, you got to chill with that type of angle because this is what they'll do and roll with it sideways on you. I'm serious. He told him that. So he did get that type of situation for that young brother who made that comment. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. So there's that, what you said right there. That's that right there. Like, okay. I think a lot of us brothers, we're probably in our 30s, because I know I'm in late 30s. Most of us are like 30s and 40s, whatnot. There's a few young guys in their 20s. I don't think that generalistic, black and white approach to the problem that, there is in the United States. I don't think that's fair to spread the message like, oh my God, you need to get out. You need to get out. I'm getting out. You need to get out. You need to get out. Like yes, there is a problem here in the United States. We all know that. But that doesn't mean that like other people can't, perhaps have great situation. Maybe your little brother going to school, he's in medical school, he could meet a nice young lady and he could end up being married, have a nice family here in the United States. Some of us know guys, we have family members that are married in the United States or maybe dating in the United States. They have no problem with it, right? I don't like that approach because that approach is more of like a scare tactic approach. Oh my God, we're not going to tell this generation, the new generation, this, that, and the third. I think there's something wrong with that. I don't think the message should be pushed like that. I think it should be like educating these guys on the options that are available. But don't approach it like, making scaring them and things of that nature. And then guys too, when you travel, and this is what got the young man in trouble. He was evangelizing about access. His whole angle was access. Look, access is so hard in the United States. Oh, look, here, it is so easy. Like, we need to chill on that, though, man.
But he's 23. He 23, bro. That's having access to Punani is exciting like that to an early 20-year-old, brother. I'm just got to be real with you. He's just like any other college student, but they don't have a YouTube and they're not big. So I'm not really getting on them from that aspect.
23-year-olds lose their lives overseas too, man.
Hold on, Philippe. I want to let Zoo have a chance to hop on, and I'll get right back to you. Is it Philippe? Am I pronouncing that right?
It's actually Philippe, but go ahead.
Okay.
It's all good.
All right, go ahead, Zoo.
Yeah. With Austin, I think YouTubers they got to guard their image. And I talk about this all the time with you. You got to really hold your image close and don't let it just be used freely like that. And don't just say or do things that could be used against you. Like with Austin, he's always going to be, attached to that ST stuff, right? Like forever. His image on YouTube or Google is going to come up and be attached to all the sexual stuff. So it's just like, it's what Kevin Samuel said, right? If anybody watched one of his videos on image, you got to really be careful what you put out there. Like even like the head of the media companies, you don't know who they are. They don't even put their image out there, right? So it's just to be conscious of it.
Hey Zoo, I agree with you 100%, bro. Your reputation will precede you. And the way that that's why I said earlier, Aaron, about don't create a climate, then complain about the weather. You see what I'm saying? I mean, if your thumbnails are showing, mangoes and everything, and you got to put a disclaimer at the bottom of your video saying that I don't promote paying for SEX. I mean, God, I mean, that's what people gonna see. And travel is more than that. And to Mr. G, listen, bro, I'm never gonna be silent to try to help brothers live a better, happier life. If people in the States don't like the fact that you can actually leave the US, I can never totally leave the US because I got family there. I got grandkids there. I got this there, but I can choose where I rest my head every night. I'm not going to be silent because it makes some people feel uncomfortable. I don't bash nobody, anybody that knows me. I don't bash nobody till you come for me. I want you to read some of the comments that I get, not just from women, but men in the States that are totally false, unwarranted, untrue, defaming, hurtful. There was a sister on Obsidian's live one day that said, me and my girlfriends were supposed to go to the Philippines for some spiritual type trip. She said, but we had to cancel it because these sisters went after the Filipino women and now we don't feel safe. Who created that? I haven't seen a single video from a passport bro that outwardly went after people that don't travel. I haven't seen it. And if it is, send it to me. That's what I want to see. You can't start the fight and then hide your hands. I'm not going to be quiet about telling brothers that there are options. And if you put your plan together, you can live a happy, productive life elsewhere.
That's a good
I
point.
agree with you, my brother. I think I said the same thing too. We should let brothers know of the option that is available. And once they know of that option and they can weigh it, and then once you taste it, there's no way you can back. There's no way you can go back. There's no way you'll choose this over that's over there once you taste it, but we don't need it's the framing of the message lately. It's kind of been out of whack because when you sort of wrapped it with this gender war red pill thing. I saw a video of a young man. That young man was friend of Austin. He literally said, I was traveling to change the women in the United States.
Can
Let
I
me shut up.
say something?
Go ahead. Is that Felipe?
It's me. It's Philippe. Listen, a couple of things here. On Austin, I like the young man. I really hope that his traveling and his channel and so on do well. But there were some things which I'm sure has been discussed ad nauseum on the panel and, about what he was doing. One of the things that I saw him doing was he was antagonizing Black American women in the United States by comparing them to the women in Brazil. Now,
what was it? Black American women or was it American women in general? Because
I think he was doing it in general, but there was every now and again there were some little pricks. I have sisters, and there were some little things that he was doing to throw them a little shade. Now, does that at 22, 23 years old, is that something that someone should attack him for? Absolutely not. And did he deserve what happened to him? Absolutely not. But one of the things that's coming up here is protecting your brand and your reputation. And that's something that you have to protect, particularly if you're abroad and you're going to be broadcasting, that you have to protect with your life. You have to do that in the United States. If you get a bad reputation as a business person or a professional, that could be the end of your money. So when you're going abroad, it's even more important, particularly if you are broadcasting from another country with different laws and other people from that country watching you. You have to think about that. Who is your audience? And am I in a different set of laws? And how do I protect my reputation and not say things that can put me in a place where they want me to leave? That's one thing. Now, with regards to the issues that were being raised about you got to get out, you got to get out, you got to get out. There's a certain amount of economic reality, in my view, that Black American people have to be honest about. And one of the things is that the inflation that's going on here is permanent. It's not going to change. Now, in that, there are a lot of reasons for that. This is not an economic show. I'm not going to get into it too much. But why it's relevant is this. The average median income for a Black American person is $37,000. 37 median. So what does that mean in terms of your retirement? What does that mean in terms of your ability to get married, say, which is a economic decision as much as it is a love decision? What does that mean about your ability to gain assets, meaning to be able to buy a home and to be able to support children? If 37,000 is where we're at right now, and you have permanent inflation, there's a crisis. There's an issue. The prediction is by 2053, Black American people will have a zero net wealth. So what do you do? Well, for those that are interested, there are opportunities to flip that dollar to another currency to buy buying power. But that's not for everyone. Some people will not be able to leave. Some people will have things that tie them to the United States. But for those that are paying attention, there's an issue there that needs to be addressed. And so I think that's where some of the urgency is coming from. And if you doubt me on that, and you can check the numbers. For a retirement of 2 American people, it's running at more or less $2.5 million. 2.5. That's what they're expecting. That's including your health care, your housing, expenses. That's what it's got. Now, if you're not going to have that for you and your spouse, if it's just you, $1 million, $1.5 million. If you're not going to have that, then you need to figure something else out with your money. And if you want to figure out what your number is, take your income right now and multiply it times 20. That's what you need. And you need to figure out individually how you're going to come up with that money. If you don't have an answer within the United States, then perhaps looking abroad is an option for you. But I wanted to throw that out to say, this is where we're at. And don't take my word for it. Google everything that I just said, because it's not about me. It's about talking to people seriously, our own people, to say, look, you need to understand what the situation is and to plan accordingly. I hope I'm not saying anything that's out of pocket there.
Hey, Philippe, I got to sit back and say that yeah, it is, Aaron. And to Philippe, I got to say, you are truly an attorney, man. I really love it. I love how you use fact-based logic to sit back, and I think that it might get misconstrued sometimes that, you know, it's like leave the U.S. I understand that everybody's not in that position, but you brought some very valid points in a very clear and concise manner to have people at least think about it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the $37,000 figure is true. I saw that the other day, especially after the pandemic. It is true. I think that Kevin Samuels used to say like 42 or something like that, but it's less than that now. I think my big thing is just to let people know that there are options and allow them to make a decision based on their situation.
Good point. I want to give a shout out to D May with $1.99 super chat, man. Appreciate that, bro. Always super chatting. He says it's not worth it in the United States, sir. All right, we got Gyro Viral Movie says age isn't an excuse. We got Doug No Music with the $5 super chat. He says young travelers must travel with a purpose. Research a country's culture so that you can avoid headaches. Veteran travelers will share knowledge. That is very true. Make sure you hook up with some veteran travelers when you travel. I want to give a shout out to Drew G with $1.99 super chat. He says Zoom would just, you don't have to settle. Shout out to Zoom to Thailand. Always representing. We got my dude Marcus A. Brown in the building. Shout out to you, Marcus A. Brown, man. He's one of the guys that inspired me to travel early on with a $19 super chat. He says pro options for men always. Thank you for this conversation, bros. Shout out to Marcus A. Brown. Appreciate that, man. Appreciate that.
I can speak for I can speak for Cambodia. I'm gonna tell you something, man. They monitor, the Cambodian government monitors social media, especially for expats. I know businesses here that have been shut down, rated by the authorities because of something that they posted on their social media. You know what I'm
very
saying?
true.
So
Very true.
that's why when Austin, no hate, I'm not bashing the brother, but when he came here to Cambodia and Phnom Penh and put up that video about walking street in Cambodia, there is no walking street here. There is no walking street in Cambodia. And you better believe it wasn't just me. It was Khmer people that were like, what is he talking about? There is no walking street. Are you trying to say that, we have a total area here in Phnom Penh that's just for, for that type of behavior? And that's what you got to be careful for. Again, it's not where you're from, it's where you're at. And you need to understand the political and the social and the criminal ramifications can come from what you put on social media.
That's facts. Even when I was in Cambodia, they had arrested some foreigners for making a commercial. They had some Cambodian women in their commercial for whatever product they were selling, and they locked them all up. And those guys.
So it's not a walking street in Cambodia? Because I watched that video.
There isn't. You know what? I've been to Angela City in the Philippines, Fields Avenue. They got a big sign up that says walking street. The same thing in Pattaya and Soy 6. And because Soy 6 is not on Walking Street, right, Aaron? You got to catch a little bot bus to go down to
Walking Street is where Beach Road ends and go into Walking Street.
Yeah, exactly. And they got a big sign there that says
Walking Street. Yeah.
As far as my knowledge, living here for 5 years, there is no area in Cambodia that's considered walking street. Now, if you go on the riverside where Austin was filming, because you can see the river in the background, you can see the Soka Hotel across the river, across the Mekong. Now, if you go to 136, 130, 118, 110, all of those streets in that area, yeah, you got girly bars on both sides of the street and all of that. But the Cambodian people are huge about their image. If you ever want to piss an Asian off, make them lose face in public. Make them lose face in public. Because you're going to lose the battle. And just like Aaron said, it's like this. I wanted to start a clothing line here in Cambodia, and I had all the logos, everything done. And then I got to the point where I wanted to do a photo shoot, showing the models. And when it came to the women, they got really particular about the way that you portray them, especially in public.
Well, if I could throw something in here, look, what you guys are talking about is their public image, their legal image. And if we go into these places, and even if it was a walking street, which we're clear it's not, that's not something you should put on the internet, period. Full stop. You're a guest in their country. You don't put that up. Why? Because of what you just said. You could be arrested. You could have your business shut down. You could have your assets taken from you. Is it worth it? Now, if people are curious about these things, then pay the people that are up on the panel for a consult. We got to get out of this framework of, I want the homie hookup on whatever is happening in the country. If you really want to know and you're professional about your business, hire a consultant that is readily available to you on this webpage and others to tell you what it is behind closed doors so that you understand what you're getting into. Am I saying anything that's crazy there?
No, it boils down to, hey, I see it this way. The argument is, hey, the other ethnicity guys are showing the red light district in the different travel countries. Basically the Caucasians, they get on YouTube and they show it and they get hundreds of thousands of views and they making money off of it. Then why all this hoopla when a brother does it? I understand that. So this boils down to, hey, we can't. I'm just saying this as an experienced traveler to the younger brothers. We can't do what the white boys do when they traveling international and show what they show. If they show the red light
Well, no,
district, it's a
I
different
wouldn't
type of.
say it
It's a
like
different
that
type of.
too
Hold
much.
on,
Yeah,
hold on. It is. This proves it. It's a
Yeah, the
different type
shade
of
is red.
Well, no,
feedback when
because
we do
down
it.
here,
but hold on, they will lock everybody up. They lock everybody up in
yeah, I was about to
Asia
say
now.
the past couple people that's been kicked out of Colombia and banned for
In
social media
Caucasian.
stuff, they have been Caucasian, mostly Europeans, and I think one Canadian. But
Right, right.
as far as a lot of that stuff being put out in videos, people going to specific red light districts, filming different stuff like that, it does give the wrong perception of certain cultures because people associate Colombia with that and that particular type of topic. And those two cities that people travel to, they're already trying to change the laws in certain gringo areas because the locals are getting tired of it and it's becoming more popular because of the fact that people put that stuff in videos. So people show up thinking that everybody's like that when down here that's the polar opposite. Like that's not a very acceptable thing in this country. They're extremely conservative across this country.
That's
So
what
it
people don't
does give the
understand.
wrong
You're absolutely
perception.
right.
It don't matter. They don't care what color you are. It's they don't like that particular type of stuff, period.
And
Right.
you know what? You know what I take from this conversation. To go back on that, man.
Whoever talking, they cutting out.
Am I good now? What's really important is it's really important to understand, and I feel like in this space, one of the things that I felt like YouTubers weren't really promoting much. I mean, some people do, but not everybody's doing it. The culture, understanding nuances of cultures. I don't think a lot of us we spend enough time promoting the cultures that we're traveling to. I mean, when I say promoting, I mean promoting education, knowledge, insight within that culture. Because I remember on YouTube, I didn't watch the young men, all of the young men's video. I remember there was a guy. He's not a content creator. I didn't know he was Fatty. He was giving him insight that like I've never heard from even any Brazilian content creator as far as like feminism in Brazil. They were putting on game straight up. The guy is he lives in Portugal, but he understands Brazilian culture. He speaks the language. All of these little things, all these nuances. Sometimes we think we understand everything, we know everything, but the language, knowing the language alone and understand the language, like there are extreme nuances in these things. They try to put them on, and he refused to get put on as far as the culture. We do need to spend time, and that's including me too. So I'm not trying to target anybody or whatnot. I'm the same way too. I could do a little bit more to educate myself on the culture of the places I'm traveling to.
Yeah, that would help
It,
content
it
creators.
could be a lifesaver.
Well, can I say something here on that? And
Let me catch the super chat real quick, and
yeah,
I'll get
yeah,
right
please.
back to you. Deshane Coleman with a $4.99 super chat, man. I really appreciate that. He's actually paid for a couple of consultations as well. So appreciate that. Once again, Deshane Coleman. Go ahead, bro.
All I was going to say was we got to learn the languages in the countries that we go to. When I lived in Mexico, there were certain things that you needed to know what the culture was, and the primary way to know it was to be able to speak the language. And if you don't speak the language and you don't speak the slang and the dialogue, then you're going to miss what is cool and what's not cool. Like Dre the Kid was just talking about, Colombia, which my brother lives there now. That's a Catholic country. Mexico is a heavily Catholic country. They're not playing around with the image of the women there. They're very serious about it. They're very serious about even how you dress, right, Dre the Kid, in Colombia? That you got to be
pretty strict dress code. They can
correct.
pick us out as foreigners. Like a city like Medellin, like we come down, it's a temperate climate, about 75-ish degrees. You want to wear your shorts, you're gonna have your flip-flops on like you're at the beach, all that. Well, dress code there really across all the interior of Colombia is men dress business casual, and poor people wear shorts,
Correct.
or on Sundays for exercise. You don't realize that you think you look fresh, but to them, you don't. Out here on the coast, it's a little bit different because it's hot all the time. But yeah, it's just different stuff like that. You just literally got to pick up on this stuff when you come to these places because it's different. Ain't no other way to look at it. You can't come to these countries and force your way because it's not going to work out for you.
That's what I'm trying to get at, man. Is that you have to be a student of the places that you're at, and the primary way to do that is to be able to speak the language with the locals. If you don't, then you're going to have problems. And there's this phenomenon that's going on with us where we want to be able to do things just the way that the Mzungus do. And the reality of it is we don't and we shouldn't, because they're them and we're us. And so therefore, if there are Mzungus that are getting away with filming this and filming that, that's on them. They want to risk getting arrested or getting put in somebody's trunk. That's up to them. Okay. But that is a very real thing, that you play around in these places and the results are much different than the United States. You cross the wrong person or the wrong thing filming something you shouldn't have filmed, and there is no walk it back. That's a fact. And I think that, you know, this channel is absolutely vital because, Aaron, you do an excellent job of sharing the information and warning people about this thing and that thing. That's absolutely necessary. But we have to take it seriously. Some of the people, Aaron, had a show with this young man that wasn't bringing enough money with him to go abroad. That is a absolute recipe. And then he was filming it. I can't remember what that guy's name is, and maybe we shouldn't even mention it. But look, this is not a game, folks. You know, I was held at gunpoint twice in Mexico when I lived there. And, you know, I won't get into it, but and that's another thing. You need to know people that are local. My Mexican friend saved both of us when they tried to rob us. He was the one because he understood what was going on. Now, you know, I mean, obviously I did when I had a gun in my face, but the bottom line is he knew how to get us out of it, right? And you need to have local connects. You need to be in touch with the people there and to learn the culture. And the best way to do that is to learn the language so that you understand what's going on. Yes, I see it in the chat. Yes, it was twice. One time, and I'll just give the first one. Yeah, and I was young like Austin when I lived there. I was 22 years old. The first time I got held, what happened was I was at a nightclub with some friends, and two of the guys that I was with started hitting on these young ladies at the bar. And, you know, we didn't know it was at a bar, right? And then we went out to the car, and it turns out that those two young ladies were there with their friend and boyfriend. And one of these guys was juiced, if you know what I mean. And dude put his gun in the car. We were in a pickup truck and threatened to shoot us all. There was nothing I could do. Absolutely nothing. But that is an example of you don't know the culture, although these were actually Mexican guys. They weren't Americans like I was. And they screwed up. They overstepped themselves, and you can find yourself in a world of hurt. And, you know, maybe on a different show, I'll share how I was at gunpoint the second time. But the first time, it was hitting on the wrong girl and not understanding that one of the dudes was mobbed up, you know, and you're not going to understand it if you don't speak the language. So I'll throw that to the panel.
You know what? You're absolutely right, man. I remember my first trip in Brazil. I had an incident with some girls. They were some flight attendants. And I didn't know that the Brazilian guys had bought them drinks. And, you know, in America, that's not a big deal, right? You buy a couple of girls drinks and they decide to talk to some other guys. You know, no big deal. That's just come with the game. But out there, that's kind of like somewhat of a serious offense. And these Brazilian guys, I mean, we got into it with them. You know, they followed us. They tried to hop in the taxi with us. They followed us for like almost a quarter mile walking on Copacabana. And I didn't understand that at the time what was really going on or how serious it was, you know, or how serious it could have got. So those one of them things that, you know, I recognize now, like, hey, man, if some Brazilian guys are talking to the ladies, hey, if they buy them a drink, just even if the ladies are choosing on you, let it go, because out there it's a different situation, most
It's
definitely.
like that here
And,
too.
and
I just wanted to
you're
throw.
playing at a major disadvantage.
I just wanted to throw.
That's a simp culture. That's a simp culture.
I just wanted to throw something really quick that's more humorous, but along the same line, just to reinforce the point I'm making, which is, guys, learn the language, learn the culture. Don't play around with it. So one of the things too, same buddy that saved my life. This was before. His name is Pablo. That we were in Acapulco, and in Acapulco they have a couple of the nightclubs there where they actually have women that are there. They're kind of there just to talk to the tourist and to get them to spend money at the bar and this kind of thing. And Pablo and I were talking to them, and they were feeling us, right? And then they had these big bouncer fellas, right? And those guys came and grabbed us by the back of the shirt and threw us out the club. And we were like, what the hell? And basically because, of the way that I look and Pablo, that they took us as local Latins, and they were like, those girls are not there for you two idiots to talk to them. you guys are not who we're trying to get to spend at the bar. And my point in bringing that up was, and we got back in, it was a whole other thing. We had a great night. But the point is, as Aaron was pointing out, in Brazil, and it exists in all of these countries, that there are situations that you don't understand it, and you need to be attuned to it. And the number one way is to be able to speak the language. And the number two way is to be able to understand the culture, to understand, hey, these hot girls that are at the bar, look, they may actually even want to go out with you. But if you mess with them, somebody else may be paying for them to be there, and you need to know what's going on, right? Because if I didn't speak Spanish, I wouldn't have understood that the bouncers were telling us, hey, man, this is not your game to play at. Go play someplace else. Am I saying something?
Even the clubs are different. I mean, down here, it's like, I was that way when I first got down here, so I can't knock somebody for thinking that way. But first off, they don't really have much of a nightlife here. Most stuff closes at 9 or 10 o'clock. Now, once you get into, obviously, the clubs might stay up a little bit later.
Excuse me, my brother. Are you talking about Medellin or
in Colombia, period? Now, you'll have the clubs that will stay open a little bit later, like your midnight-ish. Some might push it a little bit further, but now that's going to be strictly like a Medellin and Cartagena type of area, where it's a full-blown gringo area, a tourist area. Everywhere else, everybody know after about 10 o'clock at night, there's only certain type of people outside. So that's already one thing that you're at a disadvantage at when you come down here to visit, and you in a poblado area that's extremely nice. There's a million police officers in parque areas. But when you leave at 1, 2, 3, 4 in the morning from some of those clubs or hanging around that area trying to make it back to where you at, police ain't over there. And the only people that are out are a certain element that you don't really need to be playing with. You don't know that before coming down here, because you assume, well, let's go out, let's go to the club, let's do this, that, and the third. Well, your protection that you had in that tourist area is no longer there. The police don't even go
on top of, and we had discussed this while we were down there. The police standing, like 20 of them standing in one general area.
Yeah, they'll be deep in one little area. Like you trying to walk on side streets and trying to make your way back. Oh, I stay within walking distance. No, they finna hit you up on that moto, rob you for what you got, and keep going. Because ain't nobody out. It's just a bunch of foreigners in the same area.
Hey, Dre and Aaron, you're absolutely right. I spent 3 months in Medellin, and on Calle 10, the cops do exactly that. They right there.
They right there
by the little drugstore and the little grocery store.
They deep too,
right there, and they deep. I mean,
there's a lot of them, but they not moving.
But take your little black behind one street over on Calle Nueva, on Calle 10, the next street over, and if you walking up from that park towards Park Lares, dude, you're on your own. Ain't no police over there.
Ain't nobody over there.
No police over there. And the thing is, they probably scope you sometimes, especially if you're in a large group. They scope you from the airport. When you land, they know you there.
Why
And if
people?
you
Why you
flossing
think
on
there's so many
social
people
media,
outside them doors when you come out of that Medellin airport? They be on you like white on rice.
absolutely, and especially if you flossing on social media, if you there showing all the money you spending, the bottle service, everything that you doing there, they own you. They
Dude
own
walk
you.
around in Gucci and all this stuff. I'm like, bro, you don't need all that down here. Like, you done made it this far. You done made it from the airport to parquet area dressed like this. I was like, oh, I can't stand next to you. Like, I'll just throw the deuces to keep it going. They glad you
All
made
the
it to
time.
Medellin, but you a
All the
target, bro. I
time.
got to get away from you.
All the time. I remember my first time going to Medellin, leaving the airport, going outside them doors. A guy pulled up to me and tried to convince me that he was my Uber. And something told me, because he had that little look. You know, y'all guys know that look. Like, hold on, something ain't right about this. And I looked at the tag. I was just like, just that quick, I would have hopped in, and I didn't know where I was going. Obviously, you know, this is my first time in Medellin. I don't know exactly where my Airbnb is. You know.
Because everything looked nice and all that.
Yeah,
you know,
everything looks nice, but he could easily turn into a little side street. I would have got robbed, all my stuff taken first hour in Medellin. But real quick, I want to catch this super chat by my dude, Global Passport Crew, always representing to our super chat, man. I really appreciate that. He says passport bros need to know how to live and move in that country, to include learning the foreign languages and the everyday life of that country, which is very important, man. And I'm not gonna say I didn't make my mistakes, man. I was very naive and very green when I first moved to Medellin. You know, and I think me and Dre, we discussed some of the stuff that we did early on. You know,
looking back on it, it's
at
crazy.
night, you know,
it's like, dang, I can't
asking
even
random
we
people
did
for
that.
directions. You know, like just all off base. But luckily, you know, everything luckily worked out. Go ahead, Dre. You was finishing something?
No, I was just gonna say, just with that Poblado and Cartagena type areas, is you definitely need to ask people before you come, so that you don't, do what you feel is normal on your vacation. It's a party area. You trying to do what appear, because they cater to the foreigners anyway. That's why those clubs stay open later. The environment at a club and the reasons people are at a club are polar opposites when you leave a tourist area and walk into a local spot. Like, you don't find people going out and single mingling in this culture. When they go out to the clubs, the majority of them are in groups. They go in to hang out with that group and leave with that group. You don't approach people in these clubs like that. That's offensive. Like, you don't know those things unless you go ask somebody, or you can speak the language, kind of pick up on what's normal. Because the way you act in the tourist area, it don't fly outside of tourist areas.
Bro, you giving up consultation game right there. That ain't free game. They need to go on and get the consultation with you that with Colombia, how hot it is now. That's what increased the value of you being on the ground. Now you need to start your consultations from that right there.
I think Dre already do consultations.
Yeah.
You know what's funny though? That's absolutely right, man. Because I remember I was hanging with my friend Hobson in Brazil one time. I was in a favela, and he was explaining to me that basically that Brazilian men don't do cold approaches, and he was trying to tell the other guy who was a foreigner as well. He was trying to tell him, he was like, look, we don't do the whole just walking up to girls randomly and asking them for their phone number. That's just not how we get down. You got to stop doing that. Because especially in a favela, most of the pretty women are accounted for already, and you don't want the wrong guy to take offense, because yes, you do have a likelihood of being American, generating high interest in that woman and maybe taking his girl away from him, because she might deem you as having more resources than him. So he doesn't want that, right? So he was explaining, he was like, hey, man, just don't be cold approaching. Just don't be walking up to random women. This is not the States. Like, you can walk to a woman and approach her and talk to her and get a phone number. It's different overseas. You might not want to do that, especially in these neighborhoods that's outside of the tourist area, like Dre was explaining.
Well, the thing about Colombia too that I learned after staying there for a little bit of time is that Colombia is not a hookup culture. The real regular,
not at all.
The real Colombian chicks, like the paisas that are in that area in Medellin, they're not hookup. They want you to meet the abuela. They want you to meet.
They would take you. They would take you to meet their family. If she's not trying to take you to meet the fam, like within the first week, something wrong.
Yeah, something wrong. She not showing you off to everybody. Then you not really. If you want a woman, relationship wise, that you're not with the right one. She there with you for a totally different reason because that is highly abnormal in this culture.
My
I was in
homeboy
I
invited
was
me
in
to
I was in Barranquilla for all of like when I first got out there. That was my first place I went to was actually Barranquilla. I was talking to a girl out there, a woman out there, and me being there within 3 hours, she's trying to get me to meet the family. I'm like, I mean, I just touched down. Let's meet them tomorrow. Like, so let me get settled in first. Like, first 6 hours of me being
See,
here.
dudes talk about coming to Barranquilla, but I mean, I like I'm here, but I mean, my girl and her fam's here, but this city ain't really set up for tourists like that unless it's carnival. And you pull up in Barranquilla, the airport on the south side anyway, which is
Facts.
the worst side. Uh,
Hmm.
but if you find yourself hanging around on the south side of Barranquilla, you're gonna find out real quick you likely made the wrong decision because the south side and the north side, it's like night and day. You shouldn't be playing around down there because it's people everywhere down there. You just look like you're gonna get robbed any second down there just because you stand out like a sore thumb out of
Hmm.
thousands upon thousands of people in the streets. It's crazy.
Hmm.
yeah, you're
Shout out
right.
to
You know,
Global Passport Crew with a $5 super chat once again. He says everybody in the chats need to listen to these men because they are the experts that will save your life overseas. Appreciate that, Global Passport Crew.
hey, but when I was in Medellin, leaving that Parque Lars area, if you mess around with all them taxis on Calle 10 lined up and they constantly, hey man, get in, I'll take you here, I'll take you there. Dude, it's a setup. It's a
Yeah,
setup.
I don't rock
No,
with
no, no. Get
taxis.
an Uber,
Period
dog.
down
It's
here, and
gonna
I
cost
live
you
here.
$2-3 to get you back to your destination. Just get an Uber, and like Aaron said, check that goddamn license plate before you get in it because they'll just pull up and say, "Look, I'm your Uber." First off, you don't walk down a dark street in your city. Don't walk down a dark street in a foreign country. It's common sense. Just don't do that. But I think what happens, especially in Colombia with all the mangoes and all the assets that they have, is that when brothers land, they just lose their mind.
Yeah,
They
man. I mean,
absolutely lose their mind.
Medellin is a little bit different overall. I mean, there are some experiences that you can have in Medellin that are going to be slightly abnormal outside of the tourist areas. So it's still like almost an extension of the tourist area. So you will be able to somewhat cold approach most. But see, if you don't speak Spanish, that's already a problem because it's embarrassing to try to for them to be seen talking to a gringo anyway because of stereotypes of foreigners of why they travel here. So you out there and people see her trying to communicate with you and you got to pull out the phone. Y'all got to pass the phone back and forth. See that's not a good look for her because that's going to make them look at her like she's something she's not because of the stereotype of who deals with foreigners. So that's why you need to be able to learn the language, communicate with these females so that if you do get yourself in a situation where you try to cold approach like at her job or at the mall, stuff like that, that stuff is possible, but more so when you can speak the language as opposed to you just being that foreigner showing up speaking broken Spanish or using a translator. You're gonna run into a different experience like Flyboy. I see the comment there. Flyboy, his experiences down here from are great. Most of you are not going to be able to move like him though. So
Hey,
Let me
hey,
read
Dre,
that's
that.
the
hey,
language.
Let me
Dre.
read that comment real quick. And Flyboy, if you're in here, you're welcome to come up, man. He says my experience was different. Anyone on the panel under 40, maybe it's an age thing.
I'm right at
Hey, Aaron.
38.
Hey,
Mhm.
Aaron. I'm 52. So for me, it's not about sitting in the club with bottle service all night. I'm gonna take my old behind home at some point. And that's just real. Flyboy Way, I love your content, bro. I love the way that you talk about the culture and everything in the way that you move. And real quick, and I'll get off. I don't want to hog it. The thing is, I started taking Spanish lessons. The first time I went was in like 2021. I believe I went to Cartagena, and I was doing the same thing, Dre. With the translate, and that's awkward, and it makes you
Hmm.
truly stand out. But then when
Hmm.
I started taking Spanish lessons, where I could learn how to order something at a restaurant, I could tell the taxi driver left, right. This is where this is where I need to go. Where I could have conversational Spanish. It was a totally different experience.
Yeah, that's golden. Like the fact that you gringo, if they can see you trying to speak the Spanish and especially getting the sounds correct and not speaking, Spanish with English sounds, that goes a long, long way.
And the cool thing about Medellin, they speak a pretty
Slow.
clear Spanish, pretty slow,
Mhm.
proper Spanish. But the thing about it is when you get there and you've been there for a while, everybody teaches you Spanish. Everybody will kind of tell you some few terms here and there, and that's the best way to pick up the language.
If you learning out here, go ahead.
Well, I want to give a shout out to C with the $5 super chat. He says, "Great stream, my good bros. As always, if it's not providing a better quality of life, then it does not make sense." Good point. Go ahead, Jay.
I was going to say for the ones that are studying Spanish, when you get down here, Medellin is definitely, and Bogota a little bit, those are good cities for you to go and start practicing your Spanish because they do speak with a slower speed. It's you can hear them enunciate words a little bit better. You start out here on the coast. The coast is the Atlanta. Basically, that's the Atlanta Spanish out here. You're going to have a hard time out here on the coast trying to understand what they're saying.
Most definitely, man. Most definitely. I want to welcome my guy Global Passport crew to the show.
Hey, Aaron.
What's going on, bro? What's good?
Yeah. I just want to kind of direct this to the guys in the chat room. I've been coming on these shows, and every time I come in here, I learn something new. And this is no exception. Even though I just came in this one late, I was out running around taking care of some stuff. But I'm always learning something new from this channel. And I need to take it seriously because with the threat level, like always look at the State Department travel advisory. It's at a threat level 3 for Colombia, which means reconsider traveling to that country. And obviously we know why, because it's of the crime and stuff that's going on against foreigners. So we're hearing what I'm hearing from these people. You really need to take this seriously, get the women out your mind, and focus on, if I'm coming to this country that is very violent, and I'm not saying that, in a crazy way, but if it's violent, I need to protect myself. How do I use my head to survive? A lot of guys going down there playing, slick daddy and all that stuff, but with all the gold,
wearing my chain,
wear your chains, wear the expensive clothing, that's going to get you hurt. That's going to get you in a bad situation.
Oh, they definitely gonna notice you.
Yeah, you're going to be a
guaranteed. Oh, they gonna notice.
Yeah, you're going in a very bad situation.
I'm not even going to Colombia at all. I'm not even playing with it.
I mean, Medellin is of course you hear the stories and such about Medellin, but Medellin is a very beautiful city. It's full of peaceful people. Where you are more likely to run into problems is the tourist area. If you think of, the same sort of scenario if it was the States, if it's a very high-end kind of area, it's also maybe inner city. I know like we have Buckhead in Atlanta. It's high-end, but it's also not too far from downtown, so it's still considered city. And if you a jack boy and you looking for a quick lick, you might as well go to where people are likely going to have a lot of money, that you can go hit that quick lick, get that money, and be out of there. Well, that's what Poblado is for foreigners. There's a whole lot of foreigners in Poblado. They from all over the world. You're going to see way more foreigners walking on the street than you see actual Colombians. The only Colombians that are over there are the ones that are working and outside, or like working at the restaurants and all that kind of stuff, or Venezuelans possibly, doing what they do in the streets. But you're going to see way more foreigners over there. So we walking around with these phones. These phones are expensive. It don't mean much to us, but in pesos, that's, a couple months worth of a full-time job salary you got in your pocket.
I was just going to say, and I agree with Dre the Kid, don't be afraid to go to Colombia. I just went down there for Christmas with my wife, and my mom came because my brother lives there in Medellin. And listen, the Christmas decorations and stuff that they have, it's one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. They must have spent millions to set up that whole thing there along the river. It was gorgeous. And I said what I was saying. I went with my wife, my mother came, my brother lives there, that it's safe, but you have to have common sense. You have to listen to the things that people on this panel are saying, like Aaron and Dre the Kid and Ed Travels, Yoga. People are sharing real world experiences. This is the value of the channel. But you can't go there and behave like you do in the United States. It is not the United States. And you have to exercise some common sense. You, as they're saying, you can't wear the flashy jewelry. This is not the opportunity to wear the Gucci belt. That's not what you're there for. You're there to enjoy the culture, have some delicious food, and, you know, vibe with the people there. You know, if you behave and act like the people there, you shouldn't have too many problems, provided that you speak the language. But if you go there and, you know, unfortunately, I've seen some of these videos where these young men are throwing money in the nightclubs and all this kind of stuff. Stop it. You cannot do that. You're going to draw a lot of attention to yourself. And as one of the young men on the panel just said, that you may get us hurt, the people that are trying to hang out with you, because you are behaving so out of the norm of how people behave there that you become a target. And
we gonna leave you alone. I'm gonna tell you that flat up. When you run into me or a BMT, bro, we'll dap you up out there, and we gonna keep it moving.
And be bait
yeah,
now,
we go. Like, you gonna turn around and we ain't there.
Yeah, actually, you can get another.
I would say this when
because
me and Dre still out there, but when we was in Medellin, man, we kind of moved within a circle. We knew everybody we was hanging around. We knew the areas that we were at. You know, you definitely have to move a certain way to be safe. But Medellin is, like I said, it's one of the most beautiful cities in the world with a host of a lot of good people. But you just got to move correctly. Colombia, South America in general, is definitely one of them places. If you are deciding to maybe move out there or spend long period of time out there, you 100% should book a consultation with someone, whether it be, you know, Dre, me, or Andre from Love Crossing Borders, because it is a lot.
Yeah, Andre out in Cali, yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot to learn, man. It's a different world, it's a different beast. And people say, oh, it's just as dangerous as America. Yeah, but you already kind of know what areas not to go in and what kind of not to do to a certain degree. The thing about Colombia is everybody might be in on it, from the club, the bartender, from the
bartender,
taxi,
yep,
to even the first response of the police officers. They might all be in on it. They might be in on it from as soon as you, like Dre said, as soon as you step in the airport, they might be in on it. So I remember when we was out there, I don't know if you remember this, Dre. It was a guy that was wearing a Rolex. He was in Poblado, which is a very nice area, looks beautiful. And he was actually in the club, a popular club everybody goes to, and they ran in there and got at him, took his Rolex. And he was warned. He was warned previously, hey man, take that Rolex off. And he found out the hard way.
Yeah, and you will learn, and see that's why I say it gives a misinformation for a city like Medellin because of the stories that come out and things like that. It's you could be in Medellin, and if you don't mix with a particular element or put yourself in certain positions, like the threat level drops drastically in the city. But when you are in certain areas, or for one, if you out at 2-3 in the morning, yeah, you should be able to be out and walk, you know, safely. I understand that you should feel safe in the area to be able to walk 2-3 in the morning. However, that ain't how it works. So if you don't like it, don't come, because you should not be out that late at night walking around, because you were even more of a target with less police.
And we saying this from experience. I mean, because me and Dre, we was out there. late.
Mhm.
We were doing all
Yeah.
types of stuff.
Walking
But
back home 4 or 5 in the morning,
4,
even
5
though it
on
was a
a regular.
couple blocks, you know, you got to have your head on the swivel because anything moving at that time of night, if it ain't another foreigner, you better have your eyes on them.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Hey, bro, speaking on Medellin on that topic, I'm thinking about going back when I come back to the States in a few months. But even for me, an experienced traveler, I'm gonna move completely, totally different when I go back to Medellin this time. I was like, yo, I did the same mistakes, man, out there, juiced up on that oil about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, walking around reckless, and I didn't even realize I was being reckless until, thank God I made it back safe. But you guys are dropping straight knowledge, man. I hope these brothers are listening.
Yeah,
That fly
Medellin, you
boy.
got to be careful. You got to be careful. It just takes one time to slip up.
One time.
You know, when you fool, you a lick.
And also, guys, keep this in mind. Justice system works differently in different countries. As you may get, say, robbed here, and you'll get that instant response from the police. Other countries, not so much.
Good luck
Not
playing
at
with the
all.
police down here. It's a whole
They
lot
will,
of them, but
yeah, they will rob you too equally. You'll get robbed and then you'll get robbed again. All right. All right. So I want to shout out to Brandon Harrison, $10 super chat. He says, "What are the top 5 businesses to open in places like Colombia, DR, and Brazil?" I kind of covered that earlier today. In my opinion, I think Drake can attest to this too. I think Airbnb is a pretty good business because I mean, the money comes directly to you, and it might not seem like that's important, but overseas it's very important that you get those dollars first. Okay, because I know guys out there, I mean, people steal, and I know guys that have thrown events out there and spent 20, 30, $40,000, and the money somehow magically did not get back to them. All right. So I would say I can't mention 5. That's more detail. You might want to pay for a consultation from someone with that. But I will say the number one I see guys benefiting the most out of is Airbnb, multiple Airbnbs. All right. Ken, is that Ken? I know you've been back there patiently, man. You want something to say? You had something to say? Okay, he just dropped off. Flyboy, wait, come back in, bro.
Yeah, I was about to say, I thought I saw Flyboy up there.
Yeah, Flyboy. Lucky he was getting his stuff together, but Flyboy Wade could come back in because he said he had different
always on the
experience in
move.
Colombia.
Hey, dog, also about Medellin is that, shout out to my boy Don Roberto, Rob down there at our Sweet Georgia Cafe. I met some brothers down there that hit me the game that live there. They live in Sabaneta. And those brothers were dropping game on me about how to move and how to move safely. I just
That's where
think
you really need to be. You don't need to be in Poblado, truth be
Yeah,
told.
get up
no,
out of
no,
Poblado.
no, you don't.
But
I had an
Poblado.
Airbnb, hey, Dre. I had an Airbnb in Buenos Aires, right off the tram
Yep.
line.
Yep.
And I moved from that Airbnb, and I got an Airbnb over on Calle, was it 50 or 60 in Larelas, right by the military base.
Everywhere but Poblado and Calle
Everywhere but
Diaz.
Poblado, because the thing is, like, I went to a club. My homeboy from Decatur, my man, big shout out to Big Chris. I met him at a club over in Buenos Aires, and I noticed these Colombian women coming in groups, like 5 or 6 of them. And again, first of all, you're not gonna break that wall if you don't speak Spanish, right? You're not gonna walk over there with Google Translate and get in. And some of them chicks had men. They had, you know what I'm saying? They were in marriages or relationships or whatever. So all of this cold walking up to a Colombian chick like that just ain't gonna work for you.
Well, that is another thing that a lot of them chicks that do go out like that won't be single. Like they'll be married and they'll be, sisters and aunts and everybody else. They'll just go, go to the club or mostly go to a bar. Like they don't really do the clubs as much down here. So there's way more like bar type atmosphere, stuff like that, especially out here on the coast, a lot of corner stores. different stuff like that, to where they'll go sit down, drink, enjoy time with their friends, family, stuff like that. Then they
They're
leave.
standing right outside that liquor store, right?
Yeah, they got the music playing out here on the coast, so it's a totally different kind of vibe, and it's not set up for you to just go and just walk up to individuals like that you don't know. That's not normal down here.
That's fact.
For certain environments, at least.
I got a question for you too, Zoo. I want to catch super chats real quick.
Yeah.
Shout out to Geyser Jackson with a $4.99 super chat. I really appreciate that. He says, have a list of activities planned out beforehand. As you travel, network and talk with people along the way. Travel for opportunity, healing, and wisdom. Very good comment, bro. Appreciate that super chat as well. We got Brandon Harrison, $10 super chat. Bye, Brandon Harrison, with $10 super chat. Really appreciate that. He says, how much money does one have to make to live like the top 1% in South America and generally abroad? I can answer that question real quick. I would say if you're making upwards of maybe $5 to $6 grand or better a month, it can get you up there. Maybe not the top 1%, but you can live very comfortably. Now, I want to ask you this. Up there. I want to ask you this, Zoo. Now, you spent some time in Brazil and you spent some time in Colombia, right?
Yep.
What country, in your opinion, do you feel the safest?
Brazil. Brazil feels safer than Colombia.
Mm-hmm.
At least Medellin. I've only been to Medellin and Bogota.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Medellin feels like, they're watching you, they're sizing you up, right? And they're waiting for you to slip up. You just kind of feel it like there's a lingering danger just around, right? You just kind of sense it's a tension, right? Brazil, it was more relaxed, kind of blend in more because Medellin is more paisa, more light skin. So when you I'm 6'4", I stand out, right? And I can sense it. They can kind of tell I'm not Colombian. I feel, at least in certain places in Medellin.
You know what? Another thing, I peep what Brazil does, and they have a lot of roadblocks in Brazil, right? And after, I know people in America might be familiar with sundown towns, but after a certain time, it's like that roadblock goes up, and they're stopping anybody from coming in that general area.
Yeah, we got stopped. They had the big guns. They were not playing.
Yeah. And of course, if they recognize you're American, if you're a tourist, you're a gringo or whatnot, they're gonna let you on through. But I did recognize that, because they try to keep a certain element out of these particular areas, and that's one of the things that make you feel a little bit safer. Now, I had somebody, I think a couple of nights ago in the chat, that was saying that Baja Juca wasn't that safe of an area, and I'm like, I lived there, I didn't see any issues with it.
Yeah, it was straight.
Yeah. I think we had one incident. I don't know if you was in the car that day when somebody tried to snatch a cell phone. I don't know if that was you or not.
I don't recall that.
Yeah. They, little stuff like that. They'll snatch the phone and run and take off like that.
Yeah, like little petty theft. That's everywhere, though.
Yeah, but generally speaking, I felt a whole lot safer in Brazil too. But I would rather live in Colombia than Brazil, personally.
I mean, I what I did before I left Atlanta is I bought a burner, man. I bought a little phone from Best Buy for like $160, little Android joint. And when I got down there, I got a local SIM or whatever it is. So if they took it, they took it. I mean, it is what it is. You don't take no brand new iPhone 13 Pro Max down to, Medellin and walk around with it all willy-nilly because they scoping you.
Mm-hmm. I do the same thing.
I lost one my first couple months down there, left it in a taxi.
Oh, them taxis would take off. I know a guy that left like all his, he had literally got out the taxi for like a few seconds. He left his bag. The taxi just took off on him. You remember that incident, right, Dre? Yeah, camera, laptop, everything.
That's some good advice, having a burner phone. You just get a burner phone when you get in the country. And
I kept my iPhone at the house in the safe always.
Yeah, keep it tucked up. I mean, if you want to take pictures, like what I would end up doing all the time, except for that particular day, is I would have that burner phone, with the local SIM in it. And, at work is gonna have all you need. That when you down here, all you need is WhatsApp. When you outside the house, WhatsApp, or if you can download InDriver, Uber, Pick App, stuff like that, Rappi. As long as your phone can get them 4 or 5 apps, and you got like I said, WhatsApp, you good. Your expensive phone, man, you better tuck that thing away somewhere or lock it up in your room.
Now I got a question for you guys. What about the hotel staff? Have you had any issues with things getting missing when you're at hotels and stuff like that in Colombia?
You know what? There was an incident out there. I remember. I don't know if you were down there, Dre, when this happened, but a guy was out there and they ran up in his room and took all his stuff. And I think that hotel was known for that, and it was right on Diaz. So.
Yeah, and see that's the thing. Like for me, hotel wise, there's only been like one city I've stayed in a hotel, or maybe 2, and that's when we were traveling, me and my girl and a couple of her family members traveling for like pure tourism. But when I move around throughout the cities, I do either Airbnb or now I rent direct. But the hotels in general down here, I probably wouldn't trust the safes because
you bugging out a little bit, Dre.
Oh, my bad. Is it better?
No, not really. Go ahead. Say what you were saying.
Well, I'll back up a little bit for the Colombian internet.
You good.
Oh, yeah. So like hotel wise, like I said, I don't really have much experience with hotels. I either rent direct because I got a cedula, or Airbnb is my preference.
Mm-hmm. And you got some dope hostels in Medellin too, man. I know a lot of people they think of hostels is like, the other stuff, but hostels is pretty we had a lot of good times at the hostels because hostels have pools, bar areas, like a little city within the city. And it's preferably safe. So
I stayed in I actually stayed on Calle 10 Sur, like maybe 15 minutes from like the El Poblado area, in a place with security. And what I did is when I checked in, it was an Airbnb, but it was, it was like a hotel type thing, condos with security downstairs 24/7. What I did when I showed up is I gave the dude $20 when I showed up. And I said, if I come here with somebody and they come down without me, then you need to make sure that they don't leave until you see me face to face. And that meant a lot.
Now, most of the buildings down here, because I see it in the group all the time, dudes ask for a guest friendly spot. That's what you absolutely don't need. Every spot down here, if it's a residential building, residential property, has some sort of security. Now, if it's what they would consider guest friendly, that means it's probably not that great of security, because if they can be paid off, then you can almost guarantee there's a reason they're so friendly, is they're used to being paid by the people coming in and out of there also. In my building, there's at least 6 of them on all the time, and they're armed. You can't get in or out of that door unless they let you. But that's common at almost every building down here. Everybody has security unless it's some standalone, maybe what we consider a townhouse or a multifamily apartment type of building, where it's only got like maybe 2 or 3 floors, something small. But most places have security here, and that's what you absolutely want. It's standard to any adult walking through that door. If you don't live there, they need to see your cedula. They're going to make copies of it. They know what a real cedula looks like. They know what Venezuelan ID cards look like, and the correct card that a Venezuelan's supposed to have here, all that type of stuff. So you really want that hassle. When you try to avoid that, that's how you're setting yourself up for failure. That's why it's so easy.
That's facts. And I want to welcome Shaded Travelers to the show, but let me catch a super chat real quick by Alex McCullough with a $5 super chat. I really appreciate that. He says, when you say dress, I mean, will you get messed with if you're in slacks and a nice button down?
Nope.
No.
Yes, that's pretty standard. And a tip also for the security: show your security a little love, man. It goes a long way. Give them a pizza every now and then. Whatever. Make sure you show your security love. So I want to welcome the Shaded Traveler to the show.
Hey, how y'all doing? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we hear you perfectly clear. What's good? What's good with you?
What's going on? I'm doing all right. I'm hanging back, listening to all the good advice y'all giving out.
Okay. Okay. All
Very
right.
similar to advice I would give myself.
All right. And are you familiar with Colombia in Medellin?
Yeah, I'm actually down here right now. Um, I'm friends with Zoo.
Okay.
Yeah, Zoo and I actually met in DR on the beach. Yeah, so
How
advice
safe
that
do
I would
you
give.
feel in Poblado?
Oh, in Poblado, honestly, um, I tend to feel pretty safe, but I'm also a real low key person. I
Hmm.
don't ever dress flashy, sweats and t-shirts and stuff like that. And I'm like never by myself. I prefer to be around people taller than me, bigger than me. Zoo. Uh, uh, and to be honest, right now, I do what I can to take extra measures for safety. So just like you said, paying off doormen. Um, if there's any, I got to be careful. I got to be careful of things I say. I say a lot of crazy stuff. Um, right. But there are people in the city where if you could, I always find it best to find a way to somebody else has got to have skin in the game. I need somebody else invested in my survival. The more people I have invested in my survival, the better I feel.
Well, that goes a long way also, because most guys, you want to meet different people. So in the States, Western culture or more advanced Western cultures where we use the internet more frequently, online dating is a thing. Well, in these cultures, it's not. There aren't Colombian men online searching for Colombian women, which means there shouldn't be any Colombian women online looking to be found. Well, the only people that are going to be online searching for women are going to be the foreigners. So that's going to put you in a particular category, online dating. But when you meet these people and you get down here, you go out on a date or whatever the case may be, again, if she's not showing you anywhere where she lives. Like in the States, that's not normal for women to do that. Down here, that is something that needs to be happening within the first couple times that you seeing that person before you decide to bring them up where your stuff is. If they don't show you where they live at, you shouldn't show them where you live at. Period. It's not normal, but most of these guys get caught up in situations like that. Yeah, you can come down many times. You can come down here for your little weekend vacations. You play with fire and you're gone. Well, you keep repeating that same ill-advised process, you're going to get burned, because that's not how stuff works down here. The women don't move like that. Local girls do not move like what you're going to experience in a tourist area. That's not how they act. It's not normal. So if you don't start picking up on a lot of those cues, she's not showing you all for wanting y'all to go out and do stuff, but it's with her and her friends or her and her family. Is you just see her whenever you see her, and stuff like that. But you never know where she lives at. All that type of stuff. You playing with fire. Because when she
Exactly.
take your stuff and you need to call the police, you're gonna be upset while the police seem like they're not trying to help you because you ain't got no information to give them.
It's a good point. Very good point. I want to bring the Flyboy away in the building. He said he
Yes.
had a different experience in Colombia. What's good with your Flyboy?
Hey, yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy FRE $H Fresh at the Flyboy Way, all platforms. I just had to show my inspector the house, so I was trying to come over earlier, but I missed a lot of things. Now, let's get to the experience in Colombia. But before we get there, let me ask y'all this question: how many of you guys speak to people who are mute in the United States?
How many people speak to
You said
mute?
Yeah, well,
Like they
definitely
can't
not.
speak.
Yeah, or if you can't communicate, if you don't know sign.
Nah. So whenever I hear people, my opinion, whenever I hear people say the women aren't the same, it's hard for me to really take that serious. Like, because they don't speak the language. The women to me are the same. Once you speak the language, you get to see that they're the same. Because whether they're in the tourist area or whether they're in the off tourist area, you actually, if you speak Spanish or speak the language of the country, you'll have a way easier time in the non-tourist areas speaking Spanish than the women in the tourist areas. And I think a lot of people, they say, oh, you got to act different. You got to be like this. No, the same way that you wouldn't approach 4 women and 4 guys in the United States, if you was at a club or at a bar, you wouldn't just walk up to a group of 4 girls and 4 guys. You wouldn't do it in the States. So why would you do it in any other country? I think that's the issue that people have all the time. And when things happen, they're like, oh, the culture here is so different. But I'm like, no, it's not. It's the exact same. It's just that you don't understand the language. And even if you didn't understand the language, you could still understand you wouldn't walk up to 4 dudes and 4 guys. 4 girls and 4 guys in the club. So it's like
I gotta disagree to a certain degree with that, man, because it's some differences. It's definitely some differences.
Give me an example, and I'll show you how it relates to the United States.
I mean, just dating in general is a whole lot different, bro. You're talking about a whole different culture. All right, so how do you a first date in America?
You said what?
What do you do on a typical first date?
Food and movies, or eat somewhere.
All right. Are you expecting her to come home with you or what?
It depends the kind of vibe. Like a lot of times women do come home with me, especially when I'm in Miami. A lot of women come home with me, but it's not It's not an every time thing.
And how quick do you meet the family? How quick you meet the uncles and the dads and the moms and everything in America?
Well, it depends what kind of relationship I want. If I tell them I'm just looking for fun, they're not going to be looking to introduce me to their parents. But if I say I want a relationship, maybe 1, 2, 3 weeks. It really depends. Whenever we start a relationship.
Now, generally speaking, dating in America is hookup culture, right?
What do you mean by hookup culture?
Are you dating for marriage in most cases?
No, I'm not.
Okay, well, in Colombia, they're taking the dating pretty serious, bro. They have a big flaking culture.
See, the issue I take with somebody saying that is that you don't speak the language. So when you don't,
now you're right. I don't speak the language fluently, but I've been listen. Hold up. I've been in several relationships in Colombia though.
But that's not what I'm saying. You don't speak the language, just so you gotta let me finish. You don't speak the language means that you can't assume that every woman is looking for a husband in Colombia, because that's not it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm telling you.
How long did you spend in Colombia?
What do you mean how long did I spend? It's
how long did you spend in Colombia?
Like a week, 7 days.
I spent the whole year in Colombia.
Right,
So
but you still don't
my
speak the language.
is going to be a little different.
A person who
have you ever been in a relationship with a Colombian woman?
Let me. I'm going to say first. A person who spends a year somewhere is going to have a different experience than a person who spends weeks who speak the language, because the language is going to take you way further than just spending time in the country, because you get to understand the culture through the language. This is why I say it's difficult for me to really say, yo, the women are all different. No, it's not. It is. There are hookup culture parts of Colombia. There is. It's the same thing in the States. Not every woman.
That part is It wouldn't be logical to blanket all of them that it's not. Now I'm assuming that time spent that was in Medellin, because that's what I said earlier before you had jumped on. I saw your comment. I was like, well, fly boys speak Spanish, so that's different. But in Medellin, I also did say that Medellin is one of the cities that even outside of the tourist area, you can still run into some not so normal experiences it would be normal for Medellin, but in Bucaramanga, the shit ain't gonna fly. Even out here in Barranquilla, the shit wouldn't fly. It's a little more difficult to find a more hookup culture approach, because their mindset is a little bit different from the beginning, to where we have that mind. Because I had to explain to one of my homeboys that had moved down here, and I was telling him, I was like, well, you keep running into issues because you're trying that particular approach out here in this type of city, where you need to take that more to Medellin and Cartagena, where that would be a little more feasible, to where people can go out, have fun and stuff like that.
Hey Dre, you broke it down so perfectly. Let me say, BMT, let me say how Dre broke it down perfectly. You know how people say, how you said Colombia wasn't a hookup culture? Well, when you go to Barranquilla is more of a non-hookup, more long-term relationship. Like the woman I started talking to in Barranquilla.
I was in a relationship with a woman in Barranquilla.
Right. But the woman I started talking to in Barranquilla from 2019, I still talk to today. Like we talk today. I haven't had to send her no money. We still talk today, because I understand that's what she was looking for. At the same token, if I go to Medellin and I expect the same thing, or if I go to Parquilleras or if I go to Cartagena and expect the same thing, it's not going to be the same vibe. That's why you can't, like you said, you can't generalize and say, oh, Colombian is not a Colombia is not a hookup culture, because it depends what part of Colombia you go to, what area you go to, and the type of women that you approach, and all that
But it's not
matters.
common though. It's not common to experience that, but it's definitely
If
there
you
in
go to
Medellin.
Cartagena, it's super common.
Cartagena is another high gringo city.
It's
That's what I'm saying.
cosmopolitan areas, right, where a
But
lot
you
of
guys,
different cultures.
right? That's what I'm saying.
Sounds
For somebody to say it's not common, it just depends what area you're in. If you go to Sosúa looking for a long-term wifey, are you going to say,
Another
oh,
gringo high
you see what I'm saying?
city.
Are you going to go to? Are you not going to go to Sosúa looking for a long-term wifey? Because why would you expect that to be a non-hookup culture?
Well, no. I think that's where it's two separate conversations. I guess at the same time, it's Medellin. That's gonna be more common of a hookup culture type of atmosphere, the experience that you'd run into in Medellin. But same thing with Cartagena.
Parquilleras is not Medellin.
No, Parquilleras. I lived there. Parquilleras is not Medellin, so I definitely didn't say that.
Parquilleras is a stroll, man.
No,
yeah, Parquilleras is only a park.
Because you said Medellin is more of a hookup culture. And if you talk about Medellin, it depends what area you're in. If you're in
most of the valley, you'd be able to, as a foreigner, because there's so many of us that come through there, it'd be easier to run across that type of female than not. That would be cool with going out, hookup culture kind of thing. That would be, you have a higher chance of doing that in Medellin than you do here in Barranquilla, Bucaramanga, or even fucking Cali.
Agree, definitely agree.
The same with Cartagena.
If you're saying, Flyboy Way, that all women have a base nature, yeah, I agree with that. But all I'm saying is there are some differences in the women in Colombia than in America, bro.
I just can't. I haven't seen anybody point out any differences yet. The only difference. Here's the only difference. The only difference between women overseas, in Colombia and other places like that, and women in the United States, is the laws that's governing them, and the fact that it costs more money. Aside from that,
hookup culture wise, it would be the same thing. Now, if you dating the chick, yeah, it's night and day. It's night and day.
Let me give you an example. If you're dating a woman in Colombia, right? They expect you to provide 100%, right?
Nah, I've been with the same chick for 2 years. I don't have that experience. Her mama come over to my spot and clean up. I don't even ask.
No, but that's not provide. That's not what I'm talking about. Providing. That's
what I'm getting at is I don't have to. And actually, because of the machismo aspect of this culture, her father would not even dare take a cent from me to give to his family. Ain't no way in the world.
We're not talking about her family. We're talking about her.
Even her. She works full time, 6 days a week, just like everybody else down here.
Let me go a different way. Who pays the rent?
I pay the rent.
Okay, who pays for the food?
Depends on, mostly it's her.
Come on, man.
She stops by the store.
Man. Who pays it when you go out?
It depends.
Hey, you're not telling me you're splitting it 50-50 with a Colombian woman. You're not.
Yeah, because that's why I say it's already abnormal, the fact that she's working.
Yeah.
She works. I mean, you can look all over my Instagram, brother. I ain't got a reason to lie to you. I live down here.
Flyboy, you're gonna have some cultural differences, bro. We're not saying
so what I'm telling you is she works.
There's gonna be some cultural differences, bro.
She works full time.
They have more respect for men, I feel.
There are going to be cultural differences, yes, but that doesn't mean that the women are different. The women are different means that they have a whole different. The cultural differences are based on maybe they listen more to salsa versus we listen more to hip hop here. That's the cultural difference, not how they treat you.
More so, even when you ask me about the support thing, it's the bills are going to be paid with or without her. She contributes nothing to the bills, so to speak, if that's the case, because I was already paying that stuff to begin with. She pays her own way, whether she was doing that before she met me.
And this is one thing I'm trying to get people to understand. If you are a provider who pays for the bills 100% the way you do women overseas in the States, your experience will be very similar. Women are feminine to guys who have money. That's
Yeah,
it.
I wouldn't argue that.
Yeah,
That's
I didn't want to go down that road, but I've been sitting back, and I know
I,
Zoo.
I
I
wouldn't
know
argue
Zoo
that.
knows my. he's very
Andre
accurate.
crossing
That's
borders.
just what it is. That's just what it is. If you have a certain lifestyle, then a certain lifestyle is available to you, and you're gonna have different experiences, and that's true. That's true. Western culture, period.
Hey, Andre, man, you see me put the hat on, right? I know you see me put the hat on when you was talking, man. I just don't see it, Andre. I mean, maybe I'm, like I said, I don't know. Everybody's different. I won't ever say somebody's lying because everybody's different. It's just that's not what the average. That's not the base.
Well, see
That's not the base.
that's why I was explaining to you. It's not even a setup like that. It's I pay for what I pay for because this is my stuff to begin with. So it's like, let's say I get pissed off and put her out. Well, that doesn't really affect her life because she was already paying for her own shit to begin with. She just happens to be here and not necessarily have to pay because I pay it all. It's mine.
Okay, but back to the basic general conversation again. I think a lot of the times people think things are different because they don't understand it. And I know the language is
Right.
They don't understand it. And if they understood their language, they're like, oh, that's the same type of stuff that happens in the States. It's just that here, I got my money goes further. So I don't have to put up with a lot of stuff.
I want to give a shout out to
if I can interject.
Hold on.
Okay, all right.
I'm gonna just get right to it. I just want to shout out to my dude Andre. We did a show earlier today, man. Appreciate you coming on. Really good financial show. Shout out to Andre from and Andrea from Love Crossing Boys with a super chat, 10,000 mil Colombian pesos. He says this dude is playing 50-50 in Colombia. WTF? What the fuck?
I mean,
come on, Andre.
I mean, the thing for me is I'm not in Colombia. I'm in Southeast Asia. I pay the bills. I pay the electric, the rent, all of that kind of stuff. But I would have to push back on the fact that the women are different. They're different. Their mindsets are different. They're raised different. My wife is sitting here with her 3 daughters that live in my house, teaching them how to cook, clean, teaching them how to be wise. When I run into not all women in the States who would sit back and say, I'm not your slave. I'm not your mama. Why do I have to cook? Why do I have to do this? They sort of look at it in a very demeaning way. Everybody's experience is different. And generalizations are true to a certain extent. But the thing is that usually foreign women are just raised differently. They're not as influenced as much by feminism as women are in the West.
Hey, let me ask you this: Does your wife work?
No, she has a store. She has a bar.
No. Not is she an
No,
entrepreneur?
she doesn't work. No,
Okay.
No, she has her own business.
So if two things, a woman first, I'm going to say was blanket statement that goes for it. A woman in the States is feminine to the guy who they want to be feminine for. There are they might not be feminine to certain men, but there's going to be a guy, like there was a video where it was like this chick was like, I want a gang member. He got to be a gang member. She might not be feminine to you because you're not a gang member. But that gang dude who just came home from jail, super feminine. She cooking, she cleaning, she washing dishes, she doing all that stuff. You know why?
That's why they're in the position that they're in.
To the guys they want. That's the first thing I say.
That's the reason why these sisters are in the position that they're in. My thing is this: right, you can't fake femininity. You can't fake submission. You can't fake that. I don't want to deal with a woman where I got to buy or I have to influence her femininity.
I gotta have a couple of felonies for her to cook a meal. Right?
This is a different conversation. The reason why I say this is a different conversation is because now you're talking about trying to get a woman who doesn't want you. It's completely different. If the woman don't want you, she's not going to be feminine for you. That's it. But back to the other conversation you were saying. Now, again, your wife doesn't work at like a store or something for somebody, right?
Well, she doesn't work. Yeah. She doesn't work. She doesn't have a full. She has her own business and she runs a bar every night. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Now, if I put a woman, if I provided enough money in the States for a woman not to have to work and so she could run her own business, she would raise my kids with her like the same way that your kids are raising over there. The same exact way. But the issue is that to be able to have enough money in the States to retire a woman to allow her to work in her own business, and not to have to worry nothing about money, but do what she really wants to do in her own field.
Okay, Fly
A
Boy,
lot of
hold on.
brothers don't have that.
Hold on, real quick. I got a question to ask you. Why
Okay.
is the divorce rate so much higher in America versus in Colombia when it has one of the lowest divorce rates in the world?
Because the laws in the United States,
if the women are exactly the same.
Because the laws in the United States differ from the laws in Colombia. The laws in the United States provide women access to a man's capital once you have a kid with them, or once you have a significant amount of the capital, once you have a kid with them, or once you get married to them. Once you get married to them, or you have a kid with them in the United States, they no longer need you because they have access to your money more than what you're going to ever give them. Secondly, in Colombia, they don't have that. They don't have that same situation. So people are expecting the women not to act the same. A woman is feminine to men who have money, but if you get married, or if you have kids with her.
So hold on. So why so many divorces of men with wealth then? If that's the case, why so many women divorce men with wealth?
Again, because the man with wealth still controls the money. Once you divorce him, she has control of his money. That's why. That's why the majority of women divorce, because they're looking like, oh, hey, guess what? In the United States, if I divorce you, I might not, like, you might be a billionaire. What's his name? Who owns Apple? Amazon.
Jeff Bezos.
Okay, Jeff Bezos might have been a multi-billionaire, right? And his wife living with him had access to $1 billion through him. But I got to answer to him to get access to the money because he's the one who runs the family. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to divorce. Now, I might not have $1 billion no more, but now I have 500 million that I can control myself. I don't have to ask him for permission to control him. And that's why, to me, I would never get married in the United States. And that's why so many people get divorced, because there's a point when a woman in her mind says, hey, the laws will protect me if I divorce this guy or if I have a kid with him in the United States. So I'm going to divorce him and not have to answer to him to get access to his money anymore.
But that proves the point that the women are different. That proves the point that the women are different. Their mindset.
See, Flyboy.
Why do foreign brides have a lower divorce rate?
I just told you, because the laws in other countries.
No. When you bring a woman to the United States and marry her,
because
they have a lower divorce rate.
They have a lower divorce rate than the women in the United States, but they have a higher divorce rate than the women in their own country. Meaning, if I brought a woman from the Philippines here, she's more likely to get divorced here once she gets into that mentality and understanding how the laws work for women who get divorced here than if she was back in the Philippines.
Right,
she's
but
not
still less than an American woman.
You say, but it's going to still be less because
but explain that.
Because they don't know all the laws like the American women. You understand? So they're still learning. The American women had their whole lives to learn these laws of how it works, how they can get money and access to people once they get divorced or have kids. The Philippine women or the Colombian women, they come over here and they start to learn. And as they're learning, they're hearing from their friends and they make that jump already.
Let's see, Flyboy. The situation I explained to you with my girl working and me paying the bills I pay for myself and all that type of stuff, that's exactly how it works out the way it does, is because the leverage, there's no leverage there. I actually, am cool with the fact that she wants to be independent, which is actually not a very common thing here. But the fact that she wants to do certain things, that's why when she goes to work, she wants to contribute certain things because she wants to be able to feel included for that sort of appreciation on top of the type of stuff that she just does naturally, the cooking and cleaning, all that type of stuff. So when you ask, well, who pays for this when we go out? Well, I can pay for everything. That's not a problem. But it's the thing that she wants to do that because she wants to, I guess, feel included or, do something significant to the relationship for what she can contribute.
Okay, so you saw what Andre from Love Crossing Borders, shout out to bro Andre from Love Crossing Borders, said.
Andre girl buy him stuff. He showed the watch that she bought him right there on the thing, on the live.
This is a different experience. You're talking about buying stuff. We're talking about providing the financial of the household. That's different. A woman can buy
all that's provided for. I said I pay all of that.
Again, that you're missing the point. What I'm saying here, at base, maybe you have a what's that called? Not an example, but you have a small case, but that's not the case for everyone, for the majority. And that, as you can see, brother Andre came in here and said it's not the 50-50 split that you're talking about. You have in Colombia with your woman is not
Well,
the
no, I didn't
majority.
say it was 50-50 split. That never came out of my mouth once. I said that sometimes because you asked, well, when we go out, who pays? Well, I said it depends. I mean, mostly it's obviously going to be me, but she wants to offer to pay.
I should have illustrated that a little bit more. Maybe I should say the majority of the time. That would have been more. The majority of the time, who pays?
Oh yeah, I'm paying for things the majority of the time.
Exactly. So we're not. I don't base things on something that happens once or twice. It doesn't make any sense. Or even 10%, even 20%. I base it. What's 80% or more? Because that's what you can base a holistic on. So when I say who pays, and you say, well, she pays sometimes, it's different from.
That's what I'm saying. It would be that like how she acts and things like that. It would be that way regardless, because everything that's here, whether she's in my model or not, it's still going to be that way. She's just an addition. So whether I'm paying for that stuff or not, that's how she acts. Because you also have to remove us as foreigners from these equations and look at what would they do with the local, and they'll do the exact same thing with Juan that squeegees windows at the traffic light.
Yeah, Flyboy.
That's what we miss, because we look at it from a very arrogant American point of view. They were going to be doing this stuff regardless because it's in the culture.
Wait a minute, are you under the impression that the guy who squeegees at the traffic light is not providing for his wife at home 100%?
Well, no. I'm saying because I think it's getting confused as to why they may act a certain way in the culture, or what you're getting, when guys get too caught up on the feminism and stuff like that. Whether you come as the gringo or you're the local from the hood, she's brought up a particular way, that the type of stuff that you're experiencing that's new to you, or not you individually, but new to you as the foreigner coming into this culture, it's the norm here. They do that. That's why I mentioned earlier, my girl was twisting my hair last weekend. She didn't wash the dishes that particular, but before her mom came over to visit, her mom is washing dishes in my spot. I didn't say nothing to none of them about that. I just happened to look over and her mom's washing and putting up dishes. This is what they do. We pull up at her grandma's house, or no, we were going to her mom's house that same day, and my girl was going to cook at her mom's house, but we passed by the grandmama's house, pull up at grandma's house, grandma greet everybody, grandma trying to cook for everybody. We show up unannounced. That's just what she's doing. That's a grandma.
All right, you can't
It's
discount
cultural.
Culture. Can't discount it.
Flyboy, can I ask for some clarification here?
Okay.
Because I'm getting lost in the analogies and the fact details. What is the bottom line of your point?
The bottom line of my point is that the only difference between the women overseas and the women in the States are the laws. You see, the laws create an environment where women are teaching other women, and parents are teaching their daughters how to live a certain way because of the laws a certain way. Like if the laws in the States were laws in the United States were the exact same laws in other countries, well then the women parents would teach their daughters to react a different way. The reason why the culture and the way they grow up and the way they raise, the way they treat you is different is because the laws are different. The people are thinking automatically, oh, it's just different. If the laws change, the women would change also. But the basis of the whole principle is that guys do the same. Like 90% of the stuff, maybe there's a 10% difference, but 90% of stuff that they do that happens in the States is the same stuff that happens overseas, just at a lower rate of money or a lower rate of loss. It's the same stuff.
Okay, can I suggest this to you? Because I agree in part with what you're saying, and I disagree in another part. I would agree that the general female baseline of what they want country to country is the same. I would also agree that the laws in the United States in terms of women and relationships are different than in Colombia or Mexico or most of Latin America or Asia. I would agree with that. However, here's where I would disagree, which is that in the United States, the religious culture, at least for most of the culture, is secular. So it does not have the same kind of social moray that it has in, say, Mexico or Colombia or some of these heavily Catholic countries in terms of, like I was thinking right off top, divorce. If you get divorced in Colombia, the kind of public stigmatism that you have as a divorcee single mom or divorcee period is much more punitive than it is in the United States, I would argue. I would agree with you, though, however, access to resources is access to resources. So you are correct that if you have resources to provide, that the women generally do comply because they want access to those resources. But what those resources mean is different country to country, because, and here's the difference. In, say, Colombia or Mexico, what you earn in, say, a week, they earn in a month. So the currency flip for them is tremendous. Whereas a woman in the United States, she has, in theory, access to the same amount of resources you do, because their pay, now, you know, there are debates about how much a woman earns doing the same job as how much a man earns, but it has to do with how they calculate it. But the bottom line is they are reaching into the same working marketplace, more or less, that American men are. Whereas in Mexico, Colombia, Thailand, Philippines, they are not reaching into the same market, because there are just some jobs that they don't hire women to do. And I'll give you another part of it. And I can't say for Colombia, but I can definitely say for Mexico, that the names, they give maternal and paternal surname. And the reason why they do that is because they can identify your class level, they can identify what lineage you came from, and they can identify what town you came from. Because depending on what the ethnic mix is in that particular region of the country, they know, oh, that surname, that's an indigenous surname, or that's an African surname. And so therefore, this may or may not be a type of woman that we're going to hire, and vice versa. So that is distinct. That is not an issue per se that a woman in the United States is dealing with. But listen, that's getting into the nuance. Let's just deal with the specific, because I do agree with your point that if you're behaving as an alpha and you have alpha type money, whether you're in the United States or you're in Latin America or Asia or Africa or wherever, that you get a certain amount of respect and compliance that you don't get if you don't have the kind of alpha money that we're discussing. That's a fact. But
yeah, that's logical.
But you also have to be the type of guy that the woman wants. Remember the girl woman that said she wants a gang member. If you have a lot of money and you try to go with her, she's going to still not be feminine to you.
Well,
unless
I would agree
you have
with
enough
that.
money where she can change her mind.
I would agree with that, but I would agree that, or I would state it this way. If you are the type of woman, I mean, the type of man that she believes to be in her mind alpha, whatever that is,
right,
then you will get compliance. Now, you are giving a specific of a gang member, but I'm saying, look,
in general,
the energy that you're coming to the relationship with determines the behavior. Because I would argue that if you are the type of person that just does not command respect, period, that you, as a man, that it doesn't matter what the hell you are, gang member, bank president, professional person, she doesn't respect you as a man, period. And what is the difference? The difference is that if you are coming to the situation from, and I think this is kind of what you were getting at, so I'm trying to focus this because I was honestly getting lost in the analogies. That if you are the type of man coming to the situation with a scarcity mentality, meaning that she is so rare and so one in a million that I have to behave differently because this is a rare diamond. If you're coming to it like that, then you are giving your leverage away in terms of, look, there are millions of beautiful women all around the world, and if you have the skill to talk and deal with them, then you will succeed. If you don't have that skill, you will fail. And that will be true in the United States, and that will be true in Latin America or Asia or anywhere else. It's about your presence as a man. And I would argue it's
versus the women.
Specifically your lack of insecurity. If you have insecurities, then you will fail because you do not have the presence when you step to that woman, whoever it is, and project, this is a man that I need to respect, period, full stop. That's, and money is part of it, but you could not have the money and still have the presence.
Hey, BMT, you hear what he said? It's not the woman, it's the man.
But yeah, I mean, I can understand that too. Cutting in real quick. I just wanted to make that the point of it really shouldn't be much of comparisons because we're talking about cultural differences here. So there's no way an American is going to be the same, whether you're male or female, as any of these other cultures. The experiences are going to be different. There's going to be some similarities, but at its base, they're different. So it really shouldn't be looked at as comparison or differences, because the different part makes it like, oh, well, this one's better than this one. It's different, and it's gonna be different because
I agree. I agree with you, but in a different way. I agree that the base is similar, but the culture part is the extra part. That's different.
Right. The base human nature.
The base is human nature. The base is women and women. It's women and women, no matter where you at.
Good point.
Well, if I may say, I think part of the problem in the United States is that we convey a message that the majority of men are going to succeed with women, and that's not true. That women are looking at the top 30% and the top, the bottom 70, they may or may not want to deal with, and that's true in the United States, and that's true in Colombia or Asia.
Yeah, that's true historically.
The problem that we have is that we unfortunately do not convey to young men when they're teenagers to say, look, most of you guys out here are not doing what you need to be attractive to women, and that you need to stop listening to your mom because she's telling you, oh, you're a good person and therefore you're going to succeed. That's not going to happen. What's going to happen is that they're going to look at what they consider to be the best of the best, and that if you don't have the skills to protect that, which is some skill level in some area of life, usually when you're very young, it's in things that are very obvious, like you are athletic or you have musical ability or you have some rare talent. But just generally speaking, if you don't project that you're in that 30%, whether you're in the United States or you're in Latin America or Asia, you will fail. The problem is that we've told these guys in movies, other nonsense, that you're going to succeed with failure skills. And that's just not going to happen.
One thing I'll say before Brandon Joy comes on is this. I was listening earlier, and you guys, it's just my perspective, it's my opinion. I think for some reason, we as men are getting to a point where we're like overstepping our boundaries. It is not our responsibility as men to judge or talk about, I mean, not judge, but just speak down on what any other man is doing. Like if he's doing something that I don't agree with, well then either I can separate myself from him, or I can speak on what he's doing versus the person. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people were saying, I don't consider myself a passport bro. I just consider myself a black man from New Jersey. And the reason why is because
Damn.
Hey, what's up, kid? You said Jersey. You said Newark, New Jersey.
I think we lost him. As soon as you said he won a passport, bro, he dropped.
Can't be mad.
But guys,
I'm from Jersey myself, so I can't be mad.
Hold on, Brazier, real quick. I'm gonna let you get the floor, but I will be in the show pretty soon, man. It's like 3:30 in the morning out here in Thailand. So, but I'll let you have your words, Brazier, before I end the show.
I just jumped on. I saw you on. I just jumped on. I wanted to see what the group was about, man. I was listening to Alba and Preach talk about something crazy about white, and then I jumped on. I saw you guys. I wanted to talk to my boy from Newark, but he just
hold on. Everybody said I did not kick Flyboy way out. He just dropped as soon as he said it, bro. I ain't gonna kick the man out like that.
I need to get with him, man. That's the real estate guru right there from Jersey. I need to get with him, man.
But I asked you though, Branger, before you pull it up, he was saying that there are no differences between foreign women and American women. Would you agree or disagree to that?
I disagree. Big time. Completely different. The behavior is different, mentality is different, socioeconomics different. Although lately the women are getting more progressively into this independence things. There's a few type of females in Spanish communities. They're the rich ones that really won't date outside of their zone. Like if they're rich, they will only date people in their social standing. They will not date brothers. They will not date black dudes. They will only date within that social standing. They're the poor women. They will date anybody because they're used to being in a conclusive relationship. And then there's the religious aspect that they only want religious guys and people that are usually from the farm and whatnot. And then there are women that go to college. Usually females that go to college, they're more progressive. So they want 50-50. They want equal. And anybody else that falls outside of that would be just basically a regular female who would deal with their social understanding of who they are based upon the country they're from. And I mean by in Colombia, it's a male-dominated society. Women don't get jobs after 35. They usually have kids early in life, like 17, 18, 19. They probably may have 1 or 2 kids. So it's a lot of different variations or dimension to it. It's just not cut and dry. So you just you have to have your head in a swivel and figure out where you're at and who you're talking to. That's it. Hello? Am I frozen?
No, that's on me. I was on mute.
Okay.
Good points, man. But once again, man, I appreciate everybody coming on the show. Usually I give everybody a last word, but it's getting kind of late. I got a show coming up real soon. Flyboy way back. Hold on. Let me give a few more minutes. Hold on, because people thought I kicked him off. Hold on, Flyboy, you there? That was your phone, man. That was you. No, nobody kicked you off, bro. Don't start that.
Now, what you driving right now? Are you driving a truck or are you driving your personal car?
I'm driving my Jeep.
Okay, cool.
Now, Flyboy, while you was going, I don't know if you tapped in, was listening, but Brand Jure said that there were a lot of differences in foreign women and American women, in his opinion.
Well, let me get B. What I was saying is this: you from Jersey, so we met with the same people in Jersey. But when you go to different Spanish countries, and I'm just going to say Colombia for one. Colombia, you have the party girl who sees things differently, young girl, usually a little more from the city. But then you have the women that are educated and for social class. If they're rich, they're really not going to mess with you for the most part. They have a social class that they'll deal with. They're well-to-do. The parents have money. They might go outside, but for the most part, they stay within a social standard. Those are rich people. Everything under that falls under regular girls.
All right, so very good. Is that a difference from the States? Like, are the rich girls in the United States are probably the same as the rich girls in Colombia?
No, completely different. The rich girls in Colombia are segregated. They will not date a black man, or they will look down on dating a black man, and the social standing will look down on you dating a black man.
You do know the rich girls in the United States don't date black women either, men either. We're not talking about the celebrities. We're talking about the rich girls, like the Vanderbilts and the people.
No, I'm not talking about that.
Like the Rothschild.
No, I'm not talking about that.
Bill Gates. Bill Gates'
daughter.
No. Well, Bill Gates' son. No, Bill Gates' daughter is dating a black guy right now. So I don't know.
That's what you call a random occurrence. So if one black woman, one white woman out of all of the white rich families are dating a black man, that doesn't make it the standard. That makes it an exception.
No, but what I'm saying is this though. In black, in Spanish culture, there is an upper hierarchy, and they're even in Spanish countries, we already know that they're not going to date anybody who's within that social hierarchy. That's just how it runs. Everybody under that could, like middle class to poor. Poor people are all the same in Spanish countries. They don't give a damn about color. There's no such thing as color. If you're in Calle 2, Calle 3, Comuna 13, Comuna 11, Comuna 9, they don't give a damn. Everybody's one there. And as a matter of fact, everybody is integrated with each other. Families are together, things like that, because you need them, because there's no social security, there's no welfare state. So everybody needs people to live, and you need that community. The only thing is there's like 50 women to every man in Colombia. So the guys have a kid and then runs off. I'm not saying all of them, but I'm saying, and women know that if you're not of a social standard, you could be somebody's mistress who has money, but you're never going to be his main women. You're always going to be a mistress. I'll give you a good story, man. I'm going to get off this real quick. I was in the airplane the other day, and I met this beautiful woman. She was drop dead gorgeous, one of the most pretty women I ever saw. So I went in, I was going to buy something to eat, because we were in, I think we were in Texas, because we were going to Miami, then we were going somewhere else, but we just happened to be in the airplane. And I was like, I'm thinking she's Colombian. She doesn't have money. So I'm like, hey, I'll buy it for you. She said, no, I got my own money. So talking to her after we broke the ice, and I'm talking to her, she's like, oh, I'm divorcing my husband. By the way, My husband has like 110 properties in Colombia. He's worth like 30-40 million dollars. He's super rich. He goes, but the only issue after we start talking for like an hour or two, because we were talking there for a while. She goes, yeah, but he beats me all the time. If you ever notice outside of my social circle, he's super nice. He's nice, but when he comes home, he smacked the hell out of me. He beats me. Initially, I couldn't get away from him. He had 2 kids with him. Then he started getting younger and younger girls. I could not leave him at all. The only reason I'm able to leave now because he has a little 21-year-old girl and doesn't want me anymore. So he's allowing me to go to Miami and spend like $300,000-$500,000 on a house in Miami, and I can leave him because he has a couple of younger girls now. But he goes, but that is basically the framework of Colombian life for the most part. A man is not going to allow you to talk crazy to him, and the higher you are, it becomes more of a social thing. I don't think you guys get indoctrinated in that society because I don't think they let you in that society. But that society is crazy. But everything else under that, yeah, it's completely different. So women act accordingly. A girl who's in college is going to be independent, want to be their own. If she's not going to be submissive like you guys think, she's going to be a little more voicey. She's going to be a little more, I want independence. I want to be.
Sorry, you understand that we're not comparing Colombian women who are poor to Colombian women who are rich. We're comparing the exact same in the country of the United States. So, you know what I'm saying? What you're saying is that certain brackets won't let you in, but you're comparing that to lower brackets in the same culture. I'm just telling. We're speaking on that. If you match the equally level woman in any other country to the equally level woman in the States, the base of who they are and what they want is exactly the same. The culture may be different. It may be some different in that, but the base of what they want, how they want to be treated, how they want to be approached is going to be the same.
No.
But how do you know this, bro? I mean, you only was in Colombia for 1 week, bro.
Because I've been all over the world. So
yeah, but this is it.
And over again.
Can I throw something in here? And Flyboy, what I love about this is that you're stimulating dialogue. So whether we agree with you or not, it's a good point to try to discuss, and that's really what the channel should be about. But I'm going to throw this to you, which is in all the Spanish countries, they had a thing called las castas, and in this, it was a hierarchy. You can Google this, right? And so the incentives for women with men, specifically different colors and races of men, is completely different. So
yeah, but that's not important.
It is to the extent that what their motivations are in dating and how they see social mobility is definitely distinct than the United States, because the difference was that the Spanish, the French, the Portuguese did not bring their wives to their colonies, whereas the English did. And because they did, their relationship with the African population was completely different. And so subsequently, the behavior of even their descendants in terms of their relationship with black men is different. Money is a factor, but it is not.
Yeah, I don't see it. I don't see because you talk about mestizos. Mestizos is anything that's crossbred between anything.
No, there were like 20-some different categories.
Thank you. That's what mestizo is. Anything that's biracial, any kind of biracial within any culture is called mestizo. You could have mestizo with a Spanish person, with an Indian person, but it will be mestizo. Different color, different shades. I got that. But even in my own family, like I'm Hispanic, right? I'm from Panama. I got my little Panamanian stuff right here, my little Panamanian stuff. My niece is white. My niece, my cousins, all of them, some of them are white, some of them are black, some of them are jet black, some of them are white as you can see. I can even pull up some of my nieces. You'd be like, that's your niece? Of course, that's my niece. But it doesn't run like that for the most part. Poor people don't have color. Middle class don't have color. The color for the most part will only run with the upper crust, people that are millionaires or people who've been rich for their whole life and generational. Other than that, you're not going to see it. What
about mejor la raza?
That's Colombia. Okay, mejor la raza would be more in Santo Domingo, and that's what's bred to them. But that's different. That's ingrained in them. That's completely different.
And you're saying that doesn't exist in Colombia, Panama?
Not to the extent that you are. I could call a Colombian girl, have her up here. Not to the extent that you're talking about, because when I go to, let's say I've been to Comuna 13. If you go
I've been. I agree with you. Keep going.
Yeah, I don't think so, because the majority of Colombians are poor for the most part. The majority are.
Whoa. Yes. That's tough. That's a tough statement right there, man.
No, the majority of every culture is poor because only the rich people are 1%ers. The rich
poor
people are
class is
1%ers.
usually the largest demographic.
The majority of any culture is poor. That's the big population.
Okay, so all right.
Even in the United States, the majority of Americans are poor. Even in the United States.
The only point I was trying to make to Flyboy was to say that there are distinct cultural things in Latin America that are different than the United States.
I
And
agree with
that's
that.
one of them.
I agree with that.
That's one of them. The United States built upon what they did in the Spanish colonies because the Spanish Empire happened before the English Empire. But in terms of how the women framed the world and so on, while similar, they're not exactly the same. And I don't think you were even arguing that.
Yeah.
No, I definitely agree with that. When I first started to say women are the base is the same. So yes, I agree. There are going to be differences, but the base is the same. But back to what I was saying before BMT kicked me off.
Man, get out of here, man. Get out of here.
Back to what I was saying before BMT kicked me off. I was just saying, like, I like what the Passport Bros are doing. I really do, because it's giving more people another way to find more options about that. But me personally, the reason why I don't consider myself a passport bro is simple, and I just consider myself a black man from North New Jersey, is because over time they've been forcing us to leave saying that we're black men so that they can attack us wherever we go. You see, black man is a protected class. They can't attack us as black men. They can't just go, yo, all black men are going the same way you can't say all Colombian people are poor. The same way you can't say that without
Never said that.
The same way you can't say, oh no, you can, but the same way it comes off offensive if you say all Colombian people are poor. People know if you say all black men travel overseas to have sex with women, they won't go out and say that. So, but when you separate yourself from being a black man and say, oh, I'm a passport bro, well, now they can say, well, all passport bros go over there and do nothing but have sex with women. And now, because America is in hip hop, and America has the #1 trend of culture in the world through hip hop now, and through the media rather, and the #1 economy, now they can spread that message all around the world, and it corrupts the amazing stuff you guys were doing as passport bros, because of the fact that now America can identify you, because America couldn't say, yo, all black men are traveling over there and doing this, but they can say all passport bros are doing this. So now when you go to another country and they see that shirt, they might be like, yo, we gotta watch this guy. And now that Thailand got those yellow card, red card system, you go to Thailand, if somehow it gets bad where something happens and somebody does something and represents themselves as a passport bro, then they can try to lump everybody.
Now hold on, let me just tell you, the thing about the passport bros is that name was popularized not by the people that actually, like myself, that came up with it as a Facebook group, right?
Right.
That's why it's more so an ideology. It's just more of a lifestyle or a belief system more than anything. It's not an actual organization. Now, people took the passport bros and blew it up. O'Shea, other content creators started using it because it's a very popular hashtag.
Right.
But it's nothing like we just, wanted this. It's just a lot of attention came with it. That's why it's an ideology more so than an actual organization.
Right.
No, you can't help with the popularity of something.
It shows how the media is rigged against us, right? Like since birth of a nation, it's anything we do, they're going to spin it with a negative connotation.
But
right?
who started? I'm sorry, but that young lady from Brazil was the one who started that negative, St. Joseph or whatever. She put a spin on it, and she refused to look at, because Passport Brothers been, and I'm not, but Passport Brothers been white for the most part. People have been going abroad and doing this. I've been white for the most part, and she never said anything about that, put a negative connotation on that. But the minute black people started doing it, then you circle in a one guy, young cat, and then you made him the face of this. You put it like it's a notorious, nefarious thing when you never looked at anybody else or any race. That's
why. Hey, Brenshaw, see that's the reason why I was saying earlier, and the reason why I support Black Men Travel so much, because of the fact that he named it Black Men Travels. They can't attack us because you're attacking us is attacking the whole race, and it's not a thing.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't get the attack, man. I don't give a damn. I'm gonna live my life the way I live my life. I like traveling. I enjoy myself. I go there for business, and if there's money to be made and I can enjoy myself, I'm going to enjoy it. People have been doing this for the longest, and you have no problem when it's somebody who's a different color you than we are. All of a sudden, they get integrated into the system seamlessly. But we, for some reason, always have pushback. And the weird thing is, we always have data in them coming right behind us and creating this whole image that is of this thirsty man throwing money everywhere, acting crazy, having sex in a public place in Cartagena. I mean, stop it, it's crazy. We just enjoy ourselves and just be.
While I agree 100% with that one, Branshaw, with that's not the way to act. That's not the way to do it. You know, the way I see it is this: people got to learn for themselves. I'd rather not say nothing. I'll preach a message. I'll show you a way. But when we're in person, if I'm in Cartagena, I got to tell you this on one page. If I'm in Cartagena and I see a guy throwing money in the air, I'm not going to run up to him and say, "Yo, stop doing this. Stop doing this. You're ruining the economy. You're making us black men look bad." And the reason why I'm not going to do this is because there's enough knowledge out there through the internet for you to find out this is the wrong thing to do. So if something bad happens to you, I don't want to be nowhere near you. So I'm going to remove myself from that situation and go somewhere else. And I'm never going to talk about you. The reason why I'm never going to talk about you is because I, at no reason, at no point, want to be misconstrued with you. You know what I'm saying?
But you will be, for the mere fact that both of you are black. You represent you.
It only works that way if you let it, man.
No, it don't. No, it don't, because the unfortunate part that I have, that I speak Spanish and I have family members there, and when I hear the rhetoric come back to me, it's always negative about black folks, and I have to switch it somewhat, because it seems like for the most part, when we go somewhere, we're thirsty, we're running after girls. Even though other people do the same thing, but they blend into the system a little more easier than we do. And even though you know that they're doing something, they do it more on the low, and they act innocent about it. We're very aggressive about what we're trying to do. And we stick out wherever we go. So we have to.
Let me give you a simple to understand.
Hold on, Flavo, wait. I gotta go ahead and end the show, man. I know we can go at this for a whole another hour or two, bro. So don't worry, bro. I'm gonna hit you up, and we'll do a show on this again, bro. But I'm gonna go ahead and end the show on top of that with that. All right.
It's just not like you.
All right.
Yes, sir.
All right. Let me catch the super chat, man. We're gonna go ahead and get on out of here. I appreciate everybody joining the show in the comment section, also the panel. Shout out everybody on the panel once again. I got WM_ West Africa 1980 with $2 super chat. He says rich people date broke black people. No, rich people date broke people in America all the time. All right.
In Spanish countries, they don't. They'll have mistresses that are broke, but they'll never leave their wives. In Spanish countries, they don't do that. And the women are cool with that. If you go to DR, you're going to see a whole bunch of women that say, "Oh, my father," but that's not, their father never lived with them because she was a mistress. Somebody has money. Most Spanish countries want to you'll have mistresses that are poor, but no.
All right.
If you're rich people don't marry poor people.
All right. And Brancho, we gotta do that show on the real estate too. You got some time, man.
I'm trying to get with Passport so he can show me in Jersey. He's blowing up. That's the one I'm trying to get. I've been trying to get with you like for 2-3 years now. Damn.
That's you always moving, man. You always moving around.
I know.
Got that Boost Mobile out there, man. His phone be dropping. All right, guys. Peace. Once again, great show. Appreciate everybody coming on.
Salute.
All right, peace, man.
Peace.
Peace.